Works better when I turn my microphone on. All right, everyone, welcome to the North Platte City Council meeting here on August 2nd at 5:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers. I am officially calling the meeting to order. We have an invocation by Pastor Frederick Grant from the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Pastor Grant, if you would take the microphone there, please.
Let's pray. Father in heaven, we ask that you would be with people of the city and the council itself. We ask that you would help our leaders as they make decisions. We ask that you would direct them to what needs to be changed, who they need to listen to, because we all forget sometimes, especially in the noisiness that passes for the political debate today, that we are not only leaders, but we're also servants. And that it is their responsibility to serve the common good of all. We ask that you remind us that no matter where we live, everyone is our neighbor, our siblings, and that throughout the ages, prophets have called leaders to the people to respect and protect the least of those among us, our children, the elderly, the poor, and those who are hungry, and those who have no homes. We want to remember those who are on the margins of society. We don't want to forget those as well. So, Father, we ask that you give the council wisdom and courage to know what to do and what is right. May speak out when it's time to speak out and listen patiently and receptively when it's time to listen. May they always be guided by the spirit of community, by the spirit of justice, and by the spirit of law. This we pray in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Grant. Okay, roll call, please, Angie.
Nisley?
Here.
Tryon? Here. Bowles?
Here.
Lucas?
Here.
Garrett?
Here.
Carmen? Weaker?
Here.
Woods?
Here.
A current copy of the Open Meetings Act of Nebraska is posted on the wall at the back of the council chambers. Meeting procedure. The public may address specific agenda items at the pleasure of the mayor. If recognized by the mayor, please identify yourself by stating your name and address. Please address the council through the mayor and limit your remarks. We respect our city employees and request that any complaints or criticisms of employees not be aired in a public meeting. Concerns about employees should be brought to the attention of the city administrator or the mayor. Individuals in violation will be declared out of order. Consent agenda. All matters under consent agenda are considered by the city council to be routine and will be enacted by one motion. Any city council member may, however, remove an item from consent by request. Item number 1, approve the minutes of the July 19, 2022. Item number 2, place on file the treasurer's report for June 2022.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion Reeker, second Nisley. Calling the question on the consent agenda, please. Consent agenda is passed. We're now on to the regular agenda. Item number 3. Adopt the resolution authorizing and directing that a ballot issue be placed on the ballot for the general election of November 8, 2022 for consideration by the voters of the city of North Platte to impose an additional half-cent sales tax for public infrastructure projects in and for the city, including but not limited to expansion and renovation of the North Platte Recreation Center, revitalization and expansion of the Cody Pool, creation of a water park at Cody Pool, and relocation of the skate park.
I move to approve the resolution authorizing and directing a sales tax ballot issue as presented in the materials.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Lucas. Okay, I'm guessing we have a few people who want to say something on this subject, judging by the very full room. As we have done in the past, we will be letting people speak based on cards. So if you want to speak on this issue and you have not signed up, please see Dawn, who's standing just outside the door in the white shirt and blonde hair. And she will get a card up to me so that I don't don't accidentally forget to read your name. We're going to devote about an hour and a half to this at most, and we'll see where we stand in an hour and a half. I would remind everybody, though, before you get up to speak, that the decision tonight is based around the resolution to put this half-cent sales tax on the ballot. This is not a referendum on the rec center. You may love it, you may not love it. That's fine. You're welcome to express your opinion, but please keep it brief and keep your comments focused on this half-cent sales tax and it being on the ballot. Obviously, it would be hard to talk about this issue without referencing the rec center, so I'm not going to tell you that you can't by any means, but if you get off onto a long speech about the rec center, I'm probably going to go, hey, bring it back to the ballot issue if you would, please. Simply because there's a lot of you that would like to say something here tonight, and we want to give everybody the opportunity. Okay, that being said, we have a few slides to start with. Angie, would you switch over control of the computer there? Lane, maybe you better run this. The PowerPoint's minimized up there. It's minimized on the bottom there.
This one here?
Nope, clear on the bottom.
Oh, sorry. There we go.
There we go. Okay. Obviously, we're talking about a sales tax for the recreation center, remodel of Cody Pool, and the skate park. And before I get any further, since I'm even old enough that my eyes don't work real well at that distance, here's some paper. Would you pass those down, please? Different slides for those that can't easily see the screen. I think the public can generally see it, so if you have any questions, feel free to mention this. There are a number of questions that I saw on social media and things over the weekend, and if you've been to city council meetings, you've heard myself and other councilmen talk about the need to get the facts out in front of the people, the real truth, rather than the rumor. God forbid we might have a rumor in North Platte, right? Okay. So let's get a few facts for some commonly asked questions that the mayor and others saw on social media this weekend. I thought we should just get those out there because they're questions that we've heard multiple times. So Lane, would you go to the first slide, please? So what items are included in this project exactly? And this piece of text right here is straight out of the bond resolution. So if you've looked at the city materials, you'd see this paragraph in exactly, and it's in section 2, which is the first paragraph of section 2. And the item that has brought up quite a bit of question is that yellow part that's highlighted there. It says, but not limited to. And this addresses what's actually the bonds would be used for. And it says expansion and renovation of the North Platte Recreation Center, which is expected to be paid for approximately 86%, and so on and so forth. And then it goes down and says the creation of the water park at Cody Pool, revitalization and expansion of Cody Pool, and the relocation of the skate park. So those are the items that this half-cent sales tax would potentially be used for. The but not limited to phrase is in there because if passed, and eventually passed by the people, this resolution becomes an element of law, which should be interpreted as literally as possible in order to be compliant in the law. Consider this scenario. The reason it's but not limited to is expansion and renovation of the North Platte Recreation Center. Some folks might take that quite literally to mean just the building. But in expanding and revitalizing the rec center, we might need to adjust, say, the size of the parking lot, or the sidewalks, or the landscaping, or something like that. And this is intended to inform the voters that it would not only be necessarily the rec center building itself, but perhaps the things immediately around it. People who maybe don't trust the government because of things that have happened in the past might say, well, they could go out and use that money for anything they wanted to. That's not true. It's got to be tied to the things listed there. So that is why that but not limited to wording is in there. It's really to handle any associated things with this project that cannot necessarily be listed elegantly in this paragraph. It might be 4 pages long if we tried to list everything that will ultimately be touched here. Okay, Next item. How long would this half-cent sales tax go on into the future? So if you're really bored and you need to sleep some night, go and visit the legislature statute site, because while it's interesting stuff, it will put you to sleep. And this particular Nebraska statute, 77-27, and in the 142 subsection of that, is the part that allows this particular authorization of the half-cent sales tax. And it's much longer than just this little paragraph that I have here, but I brought out the relevant part. So this says in subparagraph C, any rate greater than 1 1/2 percent shall terminate no more than 10 years after its effective date, or if bonds are issued and the local option sales and use tax revenue is pledged for payment of such bonds, upon payment of such bonds and any refunding bonds, whichever date is later, except as provided in subsection, and so on and so forth. So what that means in English is, if we have bonds issued for this sales tax use, which we would in this case for the rec center, the payments would continue and the sales tax would continue as long as it takes to pay off the bonds. And then the sales tax would terminate. Everyone understand? I see lots of head nodding, so that's a good sign. We're not really in school here. There won't be a test later. Don't worry about that. Okay, that was a commonly asked question I saw on some social media. So the next one, and I'm going to ask Lane to sort of take this one, because this relates to the city's ability to sort of pay back the bonds.
All right, so we looked at the city sales tax since 2006 when the state started keeping record. And average growth of our sales tax in that time since 2006 is 2.93% a year. You know, we've had 3 years in that time where it's gone down a little bit, less than 1%, and there's been years when it's gone up as much as 5 and 6%, but the average over the time is 2.93%. So on the left-hand side of the slide, we took from 2016 up to this current year, 2022, and that 2022 we still have 2 months left, but we're estimating 9.833 million for the sales tax revenues, and that's the growth that it shows from 2016 at 7.9, now up to 9.8. So taking that into account, just that average 2.93 over the history of the sales tax, we extrapolated that out then, starting at 2023, and with that growth, our 1.5 current percent would be at 10.1 million, and what a 0.5%, which we're talking about tonight, the 0.5% revenue would be in 2023 would be roughly almost $3.4 million. Extrapolating that out all the way down to 2042, which would be approximately when a bond would be paid off, the 1.5 would be about 17.5 million, and the 0.5% to pay for the bonds would be about 5.8 million at the current rates.
Okay, so that would be how much money the city would take in as a result of sales tax, as best as we can estimate it at this point. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Next slide. And I asked Dawn to look at this one, but then I gave her another job. So, Mr. Hughley, if anybody comes on wants to speak, would you ask him to wait a moment, please? Thank you.
So based on the slide that Lane just discussed, it reflected a 2.93 historical sales tax growth. So we utilized that and put together some amortization schedules. The first one in the second column on the slide was based on a 3.35% interest rate and a 20-year term of the bond. And so at the bottom of that, you can see that the total bond payments to include both principal and interest would be about $87.8 million. We did a second amortization based on a 4% interest rate. So you can see in about the fifth column to the right, basically the interest rates would be just a little bit higher, resulting in an additional approximately $6 million in total bond payment debt service costs, to include, again, both interest and principal over the life of the bond, which would be anticipated for a 20-year term. again, depending upon actual cash receipts, at the end of both terms, there could potentially be approximately $3 million and $3.4 million that the debt service would be reduced based on early amortization of the bonds in a little shorter period than just 20 years.
Thanks, Dawn. Okay, one of the questions that I've considered and I heard asked quite a bit by many people in the public, including my own mother, was if this would be put on if this question were to be passed tonight and also passed by the people in November, what would the effect be on everybody who spends money in North Platte and lives in North Platte? How would this affect their lives? And I can tell you very factually and very certainly that everybody sits around this table takes how much money of our citizens we spend very seriously. There's no question about that. In fact, it's what keeps us up at night a lot of the times. So I went searching for this information, and it may exist in a more elegant form, but this is the best that I could find. This came from the Tax Foundation. You can see the website right there. Feel free to look at them. They've been in Washington, D.C. since 1937. And I spent some time reading their website today, trying to determine which bend they have. Are they real liberal or are they real conservative? Because most things in Washington are one or the other. Honestly, I couldn't tell by their website, but that's just a side note. So in answer to the question, how do we know what amount of dollars would this potential half-cent sales tax affect someone? Here's the answer. So this group produced this average per capita spend on personal income by state. It's a little small, but you can see in yellow highlighted there, Nebraska's average person spend over time is 1.97% on sales tax. I have to mention, when I first saw this, I thought that seems kind of low. But when you think about it, most of our monthly expenses that are big expenses really are not sales tax. We don't pay sales tax on our house payment. We don't pay sales tax on our car payment. We don't pay sales tax typically on medical bills. It's things like prepared food items. Those are the things we spend sales tax on. So 1.97% seems actually reasonable when you think about it. So let's move on. So here's the math. Sorry to bring math to the city council meeting, but it's important to do that once in a while. And if you look at our current rate of sales tax as it is today in North Platte, it's 7%. So if you spend $100, you pay 7% on that. So, and now if the future sales tax rate, if approved, would be 7.5%. So to calculate the percent of change, if you can see the math there, it works out to be 7.1% change. So if you think about the previous slide, I'm looking at item number 3 here, it says adjust the per capita state rate. So we'd have to go from 1.97%, which is what was on the previous slide for Nebraska. We'd have to multiply that by 7.1% to end up with 2.11% once the half-cent sales tax is approved, if it's approved. Next slide, please. So here's the money slide on all this. If you look right in the middle there, $54,000, that is the high end of the median household income in North Platte. Now that's household income. That means mom and dad or multiple people living in the same house, not just a single income. So at $54,000, at our existing tax rate today, the average spend by someone is $1,063.80 here in North Platte, or across Nebraska actually. With the addition of a half-cent sales tax, we would go up to $1,138.27, being an annual difference of $74.47. Now, clearly, this data is normalized over time, because if you happen to buy a new car throughout this period, your annual sales tax rate is going to go up a little bit, or something else that has a high value to it. So then let's look at the top, $300,000. People that make $300,000, their spend is $5,910. This increase would potentially drive their spend to $6,323.70, which is a difference of $413.70. Go down to $20,000. This is people that make about $10 an hour, which is a lot of North Platte is down in the $20,000 to $30,000 a year category. But look at the bottom line. $20,000, $394 spent on sales tax per capita every year. This increase would raise that to $421.58, or an increased difference of $27.58 per year, or about $2.25 monthly, if you look at it that way. Now, it's very difficult to put an exact number on this, so you shouldn't take this out of here and say, well, the mayor said it's exactly $27.58. It's not. It depends on how much someone spends and what they spend their money on. There is no question about that. But the best we can do to answer this question is to get close with averages. And so this is an average spend. And that is the end of my presentation. Thank you. Okay, we'll start with the card list. First up is Megan McGowan, representing the Recreation Alliance.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor, Council. Thanks for having us back. I know you've heard from us a couple of times over the last several months and several times over the last 7 years that I've been a part of the Alliance. So we appreciate you allowing the resolution on your agenda tonight, and what I consider to be the single biggest step forward for North Platte in terms of recreation. So we very much appreciate you allowing us here tonight. I will be brief. Brandon already warned me that he would be pushing buttons on me or giving me the wave. So I'll be brief. I see there's a room full of people that have some things to say. But I do think it's important to just remind you all kind of why we're here and how we got to here. I won't go back to the 20-year history of our different recreation center task forces, but I would like to go back to 2016 when the mayor at the time, Dwight Livingston, appointed the Recreation Alliance. So he appointed around 20 people from diverse backgrounds across North Platte, either living and working here at various sectors of the community, whether they're private businesses, public businesses, individuals, people involved in recreation, people not involved in recreation. So a diverse group to really look at recreation amenities and advancing those recreation projects in North Platte. The intention was to be a recommending body, to take the opportunities for recreation back to our group, do the research, vet it out with the public, gather information, and put together a recommendation to bring back to council to help the council make decisions in terms of prioritizing recreation projects. So that's what we've been doing for 7 years that I've been involved in this task force. For the last 3 years, in 2019, we came to the council, and at the request of the council, we were asked to specifically look at the recreation center, what to build, how to fund that build, and some management options. So we took that role very seriously. We looked at a lot of public information sessions. Several years back, we hired Greenplay. I know I've covered that, but it's a firm that really looks at municipal recreation amenities, does a full-scale inventory, asks the public in terms of what they use, what they don't use, why they don't use it, and what they would like to see in their community. So we utilized all of that information to come up with our plan, the plan that we've presented before you about a month ago, a recreation center that is the current building, expanded and remodeled, incorporating many of those things that the public said that they wanted to see. So the total cost on that recreation expansion was $45 million. The Cody Pool improvements and the water park there at Cody Pool also came up high. It was the number 2 used recreation amenity in North Platte, according to the Greenplay study, was Cody Park and Pool. So it's included in this plan. We're still waiting on a design concept for that, but we do have an estimate of $7 million for the improvements there. And then the skate park is included simply because with the rec center expansion, we'll be building over the top of a much used recreation amenity in the community, and it's only fair that we help pay to relocate it so it can continue to get use. So that was what we came back with. In terms of funding, the single best source for this type of capital is this sales tax. We vetted a lot of different opportunities for funds, and we will continue to do, I know Donna, you had this question, private fundraising, yes. Will we write grants? Yes, we will write grants. We'll do a capital campaign. We'll hit businesses and individuals. Everybody will have a chance to give their $27 a year to this project or whatever it is that you believe in for this project. But this is the single best source to raise this kind of capital in a timely manner. As I reported at the last time I was here, every year we wait, it's millions of dollars difference. We all know, I don't have to tell you, construction costs are not going down. This is not going to get less expensive, and the need's not going to go away. So we're just asking you here today to take a look at the recommendation from a body that was appointed by the mayor to make a recommendation on a funding source for a recreation center project, including Cody Pool and the skate park, and put this resolution on the ballot so the voters can decide. That's it.
Thank you, Megan. Gary Pearson. Oh, and let's see, Bill Trzynski's on deck.
Who's back to clean up?
Dan Woodburn.
Gary Pearson, President and CEO of the North Platte Area Chamber and Development Corporation. Our Board of Directors has gone on record in full support of the effort to place the North Platte Recreation Center upgrade and expansion issue on the November general election ballot. Furthermore, the board, who represents 600 local business members in our immediate area, fully supports the entire concept and funding mechanism presented by the Wellness and Recreation Alliance for the much-needed improvements that also includes the significant aquatic upgrade for the Cody Park pool. Quality of life amenities have become a significant issue for today's workforce and families seeking out communities in which to live and raise their families, especially when it comes to recreation and leisure activities. Every community in America competes for the workforce talent pool, so the more appealing a community becomes, the greater advantage our local businesses will have to fill their workforce needs. I would just add one additional fact to the excellent information the mayor presented, and the fact that as an Interstate 80 community, as a job hub, as a shopping hub for our entire region, there's more than just local folks that pay the sales tax. We did a study, a very extensive study that was done the year prior to COVID. 5,000 different zip codes in a single year spent money in North Platte. I conclude that we strongly feel there's nothing more American than letting the people decide this issue. Please allow our local citizens the opportunity to do so by adopting the resolution before you tonight, and I thank you for your public service.
Thank you. Bill Trzynski and Dan Woodburn's on deck.
Mr. Mayor, if I could just
Certainly. Thanks, Bill. Thank you. That's fine.
Oh, I'm not
I'll
the
share.
Mr. Comments.
Okay.
All right. Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members, as the mayor indicated, my name is Bill Trzynski. I reside at 1602 West Leota here in North Platte. I'm here as a citizen and as a representative of the Chamber Board as well. So I know you'll hear quite a bit of input about this plan. I thought maybe best with my time just to start with what I feel is the overarching reason why we're all here. You know, clearly a lot of people in this community are here for a very specific reason. I want to talk about the broader, more overarching reason first. And that's because we all recognize the role that government plays in our life. Maybe not as many people in our community disagree about what that role should be. We feel that we should have the ability to interact with our government officials, which we're doing here tonight. We feel that we should have input into the process, which is what we're doing here tonight. And so very clearly, we're all here because we recognize that overarching concept that government plays a role in our life. So to me, as I was thinking through that, I think to myself, what role should government play in our life? Should we have the government dictating to us exactly what should happen, or should we have a say in what happens with our government and with our city specifically? So those are just a few things that I'd like you to really think about here today. But to go to the 5-year strategic plan that I passed around to all of you, specifically as a Chamber Board member, you'll note that this is a 5-year strategic plan. We're about halfway into this planning process, and as a Chamber Board, we spent a lot of time going over what should be included in this strategic plan. And you'll note very specifically, if I handed it to you the right way, because it's two-sided, on the very bottom middle part, it indicates the recreation and wellness or an event center. We identified this a long time ago. Ms. McGowan talked about how the mayor back in 2016 appointed a committee. It goes back even further. This has been a need in our community for a long time. And as Mr. Pearson said, the Chamber Board fully supports this proposition going before the voters of our city. So a couple other just small items that I wanted to touch on. As a local small business owner, one of the things that I look at, and I can point you back to this strategic plan here, Mr. Pearson also touched on it, but attracting the next generation. You look around the room here today and we see a lot of young faces here. And, we're not just talking about what's going to keep, all of us here. We're all of different ages and stages in life. We're not all just talking about what's going to keep us here and keep us happy in town. We have to consider what the future will bring for us. And as a small business owner, I think about that a lot. Certainly we hear the talk about new businesses coming into town, new employees, building the employee pool. In my line of work, I think about how am I going to be able to attract young professionals to this community and get them to stay here. And so I look at this specific opportunity that we have to put this initiative in front of the voters. And I see this as an excellent potential marketing tool for me to be able to go to the law schools and say, look at these great amenities that we have if this would be passed. Those were the few things I wanted to touch on. Mayor Kelleher wisely brought up the statute. I don't need to get into a civics lesson, but again, thinking about what is the role of the council here in this process. The mayor, in his presentation, mentioned and showed a brief snippet of the statute that authorizes this. And, certainly the city council only has those powers that the state has authorized it to have. So those powers come from state statute. And so we look at that state statute. I've looked at it a lot, probably. Maybe that says something about how I sleep at night. But I've looked at it a lot, and it's very clear in the statute, and I was just going to pull it up here to read word for word from it. If there's an increase in the sales tax, that increase shall be submitted. The question should be submitted at a primary general election held within the incorporated municipality. That's talking about submitting that to the voters. So that's obviously very clear. It doesn't pass unless the voters pass it. To me, the more important issue here before us today is the next part of this section of that statute. And it says, the question shall be submitted upon an affirmative or a yes vote by at least 70% of all the members of the governing body of the incorporated municipality. So what that's telling us is that there have to be at least 70% yes votes here tonight to pass this along to the voters. What I would challenge you with in closing, I guess, is you all get a say in whether this goes on to the voters. What is your role in that say? Is it to vet this ballot initiative? Is it to look at it and say, this has been thought through, this is something that is worthy of going before the voters? Or is this your opportunity to cut off the voters' chance to say anything about the initiative? You all get a vote here tonight. We're just asking that you give the people of North Platte a vote too. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. Dan Woodburn and Chance Schilling on deck.
My name is Daniel Woodburn. I live at 115 Blue Heron Drive. I'm here this evening to speak to you all representing the West Central District Health Department. I'm on that board. I've been on that board for 10 years. So I have some data from our county and from other counties in the state of Nebraska regarding the health of our county from West Central District Health perspective. So I'm just going to give you guys some statistics, and lady, for some statistics from our area regarding our overall health. These statistics are coming from an organization out of the University of Wisconsin. It is countyhealthrankings.org. They're used throughout the nation by multiple health departments and facilities for determining the health and the strategic plan of guarding health within their community. So Lincoln County is the 8th biggest county in our state. However, the overall health ranking of Lincoln County is number 45 of 93. That's overall health outcomes, which is a measure of length and quality of life. In overall health factors, including healthy behaviors, access to clinical care, things like that, social and economic factors, Lincoln County is 57th in our state. I don't believe that a county that has the number of people that we do should ever fall below an average of the state. If you look at other counties that are large in our state, they do very well. Sarpy County is number 3. That's South Omaha in overall health factors, and number 1 in health outcomes. Lancaster County is 15 and 10 respectively, and Buffalo County 34 and 18. So specifically, adult obesity in our county is 37%, which is 3% higher than the average of the whole state. And physical inactivity is at 29%, which is 2 points higher than the average of the counties within our state. So there's a lot more data out there. I just wanted to bring those specific things to you and just let you know that West Central District Health Department Board is in favor of putting this to the vote towards the people to get a chance to vote to do something that could help improve their health. And so, yeah, thank you for hearing me.
Thank you, Dr. Woodburn. Chance Schilling and Ashton Jones is on deck.
Hi, I'm Chance Schilling. I am a member of Ward 1. I live at 3302 Appaloosa Drive. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I think I was able to get more of a laugh than Brandon ever has, so thank you. And I'm just here to support a yes vote for the proposed rec center, water park, and skate park. It's my understanding that there are 3 members on the city council who have stated that they want less taxes, less government interference, and at times what seems less for its citizens. Over the past 2 years, I have seen great things happening in this city, from the mall redevelopment project, which was a struggle to get passed, and I was at every single meeting that was held on this subject. An increased tax on those that chose to shop there should have been a simple yes vote to see our struggling mall come back to life. A tax most of us pay when we travel to other destinations and never think twice about it. Why shouldn't we have the same opportunity that other places have taken advantage of and let visitors help pay a little tax on something that will benefit the community? This particular issue had nothing but positive comments from the public, but still struggled to pass. Some of you on the council said that they were looking out for the silent majority that didn't want to speak up. By allowing the vote to go to ballot, you are now giving the power back to the silent majority to have their voices speak just as loud as mine tonight. The best thing to happen in North Platte in over 40 years has been sustainable beef. This project is bringing new and exciting prospects to this town. Both inquiring businesses and workers will be here. This project has so much positive about it that Fox News and Wall Street Journal have reported on it. North Platte is on the map. Our elected leaders, you, the city council, are being watched nationally on how pro-growth we are as a community. No new taxes seem to be the theme of why some of you want to vote no for this exciting project. I understand and respect your position. However, you are not voting now to increase taxes. That opportunity can come in November and allow your vote to count just as much as mine. Personally, I'd much rather pay a small increase in my local sales tax to something I can see benefit my community. This is a sales tax. This means that even non-residents and visitors will help pay for our amenities that help bring in new families that Bill talked about. Often these new families buy homes, pay real estate taxes, and sales tax. I have heard some say that they ran on the platform for less government. By voting yes, you are giving the power back to the people for them to decide. You have the power to let your constituents decide if this new development is what we want. In November, your vote can count just as much as mine. Don't become a dictatorship and take the choice away from the people. Be the one that says, yes, I will allow my bosses, my constituents that elected me to make this choice. North Platte residents are smart enough to know what this vote means to us, so let us have the ability to vote. A yes vote is simply stating you think that we are educated and informed enough to decide what is best for our town. Thank you for being the voice of your constituents.
Thank you. Ashton Jones and Jim Backenstos on deck.
My name is Ashton Jones, daughter to Brandon and Becky Jones. I've been involved in swim team for 4 years now. Right now, we are not able to have swim meets here, and often there isn't enough space in the pool for us to practice. It's important to me that you vote yes to put this on the ballot so people in North Platte have a chance to make a decision about improving the rec center for kids like me and everyone else to enjoy.
Thank you, Ashton. Good job. Mr. Backenstos. And on deck, we have Becky Jones.
Jim Backenstos, 2109 Iron Eagle Court. Thanks, Mayor, City Council. This gentleman just blew all my thunder. So thank you very much. But to me, I was thinking, since it's put on the agenda for this, that this is elementary, this is simple. This will be an 8-0 vote. Let the citizens decide the future of the rec center. Then I found out today at a luncheon that's not so, that there might be a few no votes. And that really concerned me to the fact that I'm a private citizen. I want to be able to vote on that. And if anybody's considering voting no on this issue tonight, you are taking your constituents and tying their hands behind the back, and they can't have a say in what's going to happen in November. So please vote yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Backenstos. Becky Jones?
I'll defer to others. Thank you.
She was deferring to others. Okay. Kathleen Craig, please. And Nelson Jett on deck.
Good evening. My name is Kathleen Craig, and in addition to being a wife and mother, I also teach high school agriculture and coach both the high school and youth club swim teams. My own swimming career began at the ripe young age of 2 when I began group swimming lessons. At the age of 3, much to my mother's terror, I was jumping off the high dive and doggy paddling to the side. After that, I didn't look back. At the age of 7, I joined the Greater Nebraska Swim Team under Archie and Heather Heffernan right here in North Platte. I spent much of my youth traveling to pools across the state to compete because not just one, but both the indoor and outdoor pools in my own hometown were unfit to hold swim meets. Fast forward to high school, where I began to have breathing problems during swim season. We discovered the ventilation system in the pool was so poor that I had developed sports-induced asthma. And even with this setback, I finished out my own high school swimming career. Move on to 2016, when I began my teaching career at Kearney High School. My first year of teaching also marked my first year of coaching, and at the brand new high school building that included an indoor swimming pool. If you haven't seen the one in Kearney, you need to see it. Coaching in Kearney made me realize just how difficult swimming in North Platte had become. Within my first year of coaching, we had a state champion in the 100 backstroke. In case you weren't aware, there's no classes within high school swimming, and all schools with a team compete against each other at state. That meant that our kids were competing against schools like Creighton Prep, Lincoln Southwest, and Omaha West Side. These schools are known for their swimming programs, and they dominate the state meet every single year. How are they able to do this? Well, their kids have the opportunity to swim year-round and even to swim 2-a-days. This opportunity is granted to literally every single high school team across the state of Nebraska, except right here in North Platte. In addition to being one of the very few schools without a pool attached to the school itself, we are also the only team within the state that does not have access to a pool that can accommodate racing starts, which sets our kids at a huge disadvantage. Even with this disadvantage, our kids know how to persevere, and if you look at all these faces behind me, they represent that. We have seen some success with this. We qualified 4 relays and 1 individual to swim at the state meet in high school this last February. And this summer, we did have 2 swimmers qualify to swim at the state long course meet in Lincoln. I can't help but think how much more successful these kids could be should they have access to better facilities and equipment. Not to mention the revenue our teams could bring in if we were able to hold our own swim meets. Even if you want to argue that our high school and club swim teams make up a small population of North Platte, which I will say this is a very small fraction of the 100 kids that I coach during the year, I will argue that swimming is an activity that can carry a person throughout a lifetime. As a former lifeguard, I can attest to seeing men and women still swimming laps in their 80s. This means the issue of better facilities is affecting the health of not just one or two small groups, not just the youth, but all ages within the North Platte community. As a person that was raised right here, moved away, and then returned home, I can tell you that we are behind the times in so many things here. The renovations to the rec center and Cody Pool are no exception. Cody Pool is now 71 years old, and the rec center is 46. We are long overdue for renovations and improvements. With the additions of the packing plant and rail park coming to town, we need better facilities for a growing community. Lastly, please let me remind you that even if you are personally against this half-cent sales tax to fund the project, the decision should be made by the people who will be using these facilities, the people of North Platte. All I'm asking is that you vote yes to let the people decide where they want to invest and the fate of the project. Please allow the chance for these kids to have better than what I did growing up right here in North Platte.
Thank you. Nelson Jett and Colton Hare, thank you, is on deck.
Nelson Jett, 211 Park Ridge Road in North Platte. I am here today speaking on behalf of the Lincoln County Board of Realtors as our 2022 president of our association. We would like to express our support for the public's right to vote on this proposed half-cent sales tax being added to the ballot in November. The Realtors of Lincoln County believe that the public should have the opportunity to vote on this issue. The Constitution says that the people have the right to freedom of speech that includes the right to vote. As a native of North Platte, I myself grew up using the current rec center and know the benefits of having facilities for all ages to use for health and wellness. The realtors of this community also know the advantage of having amazing amenities to market to our out-of-town clients as we bring new consumers to the North Platte area. The new facilities would also benefit out-of-town visitors and people passing through, thus bringing more revenue to all of our local businesses in town. This vote gives the people of North Platte the right to have a say in the growth of our community for generations to come. We believe that the proposal for the new rec center in North Platte is very well thought out and intentional. A great amount of time and effort has gone into these plans, and it has been a growing need in our area for many, many years. Growth in our community can only benefit everyone. As council members, we entrust you to make policy decisions for the best interests of our community. However, this matter is not of policy. It is proposed tax increase. The public has the right to make their own decision on this matter, as they will be the ones paying the tax. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Jett. Colton?
Colton Hare.
Okay,
Was it
Mr.
the
Hare.
spelling or the writing?
It was the spelling, actually, sorry, and my bifocals, maybe. Amy Calendar Calendar Taft on deck. Go ahead.
So Colton Hare, I live at 420 Boyd Avenue. You know, the primary message that I wanted to make when I came here, and honestly, I didn't anticipate the turnout here. This is the first time doing this, but primary message is anytime you have a discussion like we've had for, I think, 6-7 years now, I think it's important that we allow the people to make that decision. Whether you're for a rec center, you're for a pool, or you're against a pool, allowing the people to make that decision over this amount of time is very important, right? You know, some of these young individuals that are talking about their facility and the inadequacies, I will tell you that this is 100% the truth. The last 10 years, I moved here 2 years ago. 10 years prior to that, I traveled all over the world. I don't look like it, but I frequent these places, these public health facilities, hundreds of cities, hundreds of facilities. I know you're laughing, but it's true. I also frequent nice restaurants on the road as well. So, but what they're saying is the truth. You know, I moved back here to raise a family. And when I went to the facilities, I was saddened. These facilities are subpar, to say the least. You know, if North Platte, you know, we talk about costs. To me, I look at these costs as minimal, but we also have to weigh the potential benefits. And I think we also have to look at what are the costs if we don't upgrade these facilities and we don't allow the people to vote, right? I think you'd struggle to find facilities in the state that our facilities are in anywhere in the country, no matter the size of the city or not. And there's a reason why every weekend our pool is empty, and places like Lexington are full, right? Sutherland is full, right? Cozad, Kearney's got 5 public splash pads for children. So when you're using things like LinkedIn, looking for a job, and you're in Denver and you're saying, man, the cost of living's gone through the roof, I can't afford to live here. You're gonna get online, you're gonna say, where's the best place I can raise a family, right? The rec center, our public pool, our skate park, these facilities, and the way that our leadership allows us to vote on these matters is what people are gonna look at. So please, if you could, just allow the people to make this decision, whether you're for it or not. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hare. Ms. Taft, please.
Hi,
Hello.
Amy Calendar Taft, 2217 West 9th. A lot of what I needed to say has been said, but because my ward hasn't been represented yet, I felt that I needed to go ahead and speak. I have a daughter. She graduates Friday from UNK. I am holding on to dear life to keep her in this community, and it's a fight. I've convinced her to stay 3 years while she works across the street serving those that, you know, can't stay out of trouble. But once that 3 years is up and she's got her master's degree, keeping her here is going to be impossible because there's nothing here. Just this weekend, her and 6 of her friends were out of town, going to an event, having fun. 5 of those kids used to live in North Platte, graduated from North Platte High School, have careers that they're taking to other towns because there's nothing to do in our town. That's a shame. It's a shame. I ask, and I am speaking through the mayor to the councilmen and women on this board, when you take a place of service, your opinion is the minor opinion. You're speaking for the constituents that brought you to this table. If you truly speak for us, why not let us speak for ourselves? That's all I have to say.
Thank you. This one's blank. I guess the invisible man is with us tonight. Shay Caldwell. And on deck we have Sarah and Tucker Talbot.
This is my speech. Just kidding. Just kidding.
Speak
Actually,
quickly.
part of this is someone had, Shay Caldwell, 2902 West A, and also a small business owner in town. This was dropped off at my office. It's almost 40 signatures of people who couldn't be here today, I guess, who wanted to show their support of allowing this to be on the ballot. So if you need a copy of that, I have that here. When Mr. Pearson commented that 5,000 different zip codes were here shopping in our area, I figure conservatively that equates to about 25% of people outside our area who will be spending money here and contributing towards this sales tax effort. I don't know about you, but anytime I see something 25% off or buy 3, get 1 free, I'm all for it. Just let the people vote. Let democracy work. This plan has been researched and vetted by a diverse group for many, many years. And they've put together a well-thought-out plan that includes a funding source. You don't have to vote for the sales tax come November, but you owe it to the people to allow it on the ballot. So please let the people in this community have a voice.
Thank you. Sarah and Tucker Talbot, and on deck, Brandon Jones.
My name is Tucker Talbot. My address is finals in 5 of those events. I've had a successful swim career so far, despite the lack of regulation swim facilities in our community. I swim against kids who have access to a pool twice a day. They swim in a regulation pool and have access to starting blocks in every lane and can hold a regulation swim meet in their own town. With the updated rec center and pool, swim opportunities will open not just for myself and my teammates, but for others in the community. I'm asking you to vote in the favor of the
As a kid who participates in travel sports, I don't know if you all are very familiar with sports tourism, but just this weekend I spent 3 days in Lincoln. I ate out 9 times. I've stayed in a hotel 3 nights. I'm not going to give you the total that I spent in Lincoln, which I would love to give to our community. That's just swimming. There's basketball, there's soccer, there's so many sports tourism opportunities that a new rec center could bring. Obviously, I'd love for you to just allow us to vote on this issue, but I think we have a real opportunity here. All these kids who are kind of experiencing democracy for the first time, show them what democracy is by letting us vote on our behalf. So that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Brandon Jones, and on deck, Lisa Burke.
Brandon Jones, 2115 Birchwood Road. Mayor Kelhar, city council members, thank you for letting the community members get up and speak tonight. It's wonderful that we live in a world where we get the opportunity to vote our leaders and we can reach out to our representatives and have our voices heard. I had the pleasure of speaking to, I believe, every one of you in the last 2 days, and thank you for taking your time to listen to what I had to say. Tonight is not about if you're in favor or opposed of the rec center project. It is simply about putting it on the ballot so our residents of our community can vote if they're in favor of adopting a means to pay for the project. When this goes to the ballot, the residents will be casting their vote. The residents that are casting their vote are the same residents that casted a vote to elect you to the chair that you're sitting in this evening, and have supported you as their representatives. The voters of our community were trusted in making that decision to put you where you are. Don't you feel that they can be trusted to make the right decision when the election comes in November? Please give our community the ability to vote on this in November. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Lisa Burke, and on deck, Brock Worrell.
Thank you, Mayor and City Council. I'm Lisa Burke. I'm the Executive Director of Visit North Platte. And oddly enough, my address is 24007 East Island Road, Brady, Nebraska. I've been on the Wellness Committee since it started in 2016. The Visit North Platte Board of Directors, and I wrote you a letter a few weeks ago about asking you and urging you, pleading with you to go ahead and let the public vote on this initiative. Let them decide whether they want to pay a half-a-cent tax. In that letter, I outlined that 25% of the North Platte City's sales tax today is paid by visitors. Now, I didn't clarify what a visitor was. Every other year, we do a study with Dean Runyon and Associates, and they tell us what the economic impact of tourism is for Lincoln County. And oddly enough, we did one in 2021. They told us that 646,000 people traveled to North Platte in 2021.
Lisa, would you move the mic a little more in front of your mouth? Thank you. Okay.
Better?
People at home are telling me they can't hear you.
Oh, okay, I feel like I'm yelling, sorry.
That's all right.
So I want to clarify who those visitors are. They are not me, who lives outside of town. They are not people who live in Stapleton, Bedford, Mullen. These are people who travel to North Platte as tourists. They stay in our hotels, they enjoy our one-of-a-kind attractions, they eat at restaurants, and fill up with fuel. This project has the potential to attract thousands of visitors to North Platte area every year with sporting events that can be held at these facilities. But the great thing about building this type of facility is that it can host large sporting events, but we also have the opportunity for our local kids and adults to utilize this facility and become healthy and stay out of trouble. The influx of families that we are going to see in the next 3 years is going to be monumental, and the facility that we have now is not adequate for today's people. You, the City Council, have asked us, the Wellness Committee, to come up with a plan to reduce city government's involvement in the rec center. We have given you that option. We've given you an option to use the YMCA. You've asked us to come up with a way to fund the renovation project. We have come up with a fair and democratic process to let the people of North Platte decide if they want a 0.5% sales tax. I ask you, City Council members, is it government overreach to not let people vote? Let the people of North Platte vote. Please vote yes tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Brock Whirl and Amy Stefka on deck.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. My name is Brock Whirl. My address is 1307 William Avenue. I'm here in two capacities, one individually and also on behalf of the North Platte Ambassadors as an organization is in favor of this proposal and allowing this to go to a vote. As I've reached out to a few of you over the last week or so, and we've had some conversations, I've expressed my thoughts to you, and many of them have been echoed already, about the role of government here and whether this vote is a vote for big government or against big government. And there's been a lot of talk from a lot of the council members supporting limited government. In my view, and in, I believe, most of the community's view, a limited government vote is a vote to allow the people to vote on this issue. Here's why I say that. I may be the only person here who's read more about this statute than Bill has. And Bill looks like he left. I did some digging into the legislative history today on this statute for the local option municipal tax. And you can learn a lot by listening and reading to what the state senators said when they enacted this measure. They enacted this measure the way they did because they wanted the people to be the protector of the tax. They didn't want rogue city councils to enact the tax that the people didn't want, not the other way around. That was not their concern. Their voice, as you listen to or as you read through the transcripts of the floor debate from the legislature when this was enacted and then when it was amended again, was to give the voice to the people. That's what we're asking you to do today. Last thing I'll end with, and then I'll get out of here because I have a tendency to get long-winded. I don't know if anybody else follows any other local politics. I will tell you the city council in McCook last night voted 5-0 to pass a half-cent sales tax, or to allow the citizens of McCook to vote on a half-cent sales tax to improve their pool and to improve their ball fields. I asked a member of the community that was at the meeting, I said, was there any discussion, any no votes? So there's some discussion, but it's so good for our community to let the citizens vote on this. Why wouldn't they have voted for it? Thank you.
Thank you, Brock. Amy Stefka and Marcus Doty on deck, please.
Hi, Amy Stefka, 2016 William Avenue. Just a citizen here. I had some written up, but everybody's pretty much said what I want to say. And in fact, tonight, I haven't heard one person say, please don't let us vote on this in November. So I think that's very clear that the people who are here want to vote on this in November. So I'm asking you to please vote yes tonight so the citizens can make the decision on what we want to do with the rec center and the proposed sales tax. Thanks.
Thank you. Marcus Doty and Ivan Mitchell on deck.
Marcus Doty, 2002 Birchwood Road. It wasn't too long ago I was here for the mall project, and one of my favorite comments, I believe, came from Mr. Backenstoes when he said, you guys, you've had a lot of hard decisions to make up here. This is not one of them. And so I'd like to bring that back in commemoration. His comment tonight was probably my second favorite. So you have a lot of smart people helping you with this decision. You have members of boards, you have groups that have spent several hours, days, weeks, years, doing your research to help give you the right information to make the decision. And really your decision is fairly easy because it's not even a terminal decision. It's a decision to let your constituents make the decision for you the way it should be done. So, I mean, you know who they are, the Realtor Board, the Chamber, the Department of Health, Sports Tourism, specific boards that are designed to research these topics for you. You have every single group here speaking in favor of it. You have very intelligent business owners, people like the Caldwells, who've built a business and continue to build businesses. These people are very intelligent people. They are not irresponsible financially. They're not irresponsible with how they run their day-to-day business, and they treat people with respect when you go into their businesses. And so I ask that when you look at this, you look at the burden of your decision and you trust not only your internal decision, but you look at all these wonderful people, these wonderful boards, these wonderful business owners who have looked over these things as well and are 100% in support. We should be able to get 75% of this board. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doty. Ivan Mitchell and Matt. There we go. Thank you.
Hi, Ivan Mitchell, 9466 South Coyote Lane. I currently serve as the CEO of the hospital, and a lot of you know how difficult it is to recruit and retain healthcare professionals. They have the opportunity to go wherever they want to. Two of the biggest things we hear about are number one, housing, and number two, recreation. And we have so many people that say it's unfortunate that we have towns that are a fraction of our size that have better recreation amenities than we do. Everyone's talked about that, but I also come as an elected leader. I'm on the school board, and a few years back, you may have remembered that we had a ballot initiative for the Safety and Security Initiative for North Platte Public Schools. There was a little bit of time spent on looking at that, not 7 years, but a pretty good proposal was put before the school board saying, hey, we're concerned about security and safety in the school. And they asked us to put this on the ballot initiative for a property tax increase and mill levy increase. I personally voted as a board member to put that on the ballot. And then when I went to vote for myself as a citizen, I voted no for that because I just didn't think that it was something that I would want to use my money on. But I did feel that it was appropriate for the public to have the opportunity, with all the security issues that are out there today, to actually have their opportunity to say what they think about it, and it was voted down. I think if I went around and I asked all of you if you hated the political elite, probably all of you politicians would say, yes, I do. I think that's unanimous. No one likes the political elite. And so what is the political elite? I think you need to think about that. And those are politicians who think they know better or more than the people. And they think that I'm smarter than the rest of you, and that I should be able to vote in a way that limits your democracy and your ability to vote. So we love America, we love democracy. I think it puts you in that position of being an elitist, someone who thinks that your position is better than everyone else's, that you're smarter than the rest of the public. So I urge you, this has been a project that we talked about that's been worked on for 7 years. It's well thought through. And you can personally not vote for this, but today I think it's your obligation, if you are not going to be labeled as the political elite, to support it. Thank you.
Mr. Ware and Conrad Bostrone on deck.
I'm Matt Weir. I live at 720 Sioux Lane, North Platte, of course. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. From what I heard from everybody else, they have hit most of my points, so I want to just go over something a little bit personal with this whole thing. I moved here 11 years ago now to be a chiropractor. I started my own business with one other business partner, and the first thing I looked at when I moved here was, does this place have a pool? Okay. I swam all through college, I swam through high school. Now I have taught all 5 of my kids to swim here. Now my oldest is on the swim team, and she made it to state this year as a freshman, so I'm very excited for her. But I would like to have better facilities so she can grow and be a better swimmer, as well as I have 4 more under her that are going to come up, and I would like to see a better pool. So on top of that, I swim with Trudy and the triathletes. I swim 4 days a week before I go to work. I'm at the pool 4 or 5 days a week, and that's been for 10 years minus COVID. And as somebody else said, I hope to be swimming in my 80s still at this pool. Well, not at this pool, at the next pool. Okay? But I have also talked about being competitive with smaller schools or smaller communities. Gothenburg has a great pool. McCook has a great pool, and now they're building another pool on top of that. I just want to have a pool and a rec center where kids can be safe, kids can learn to swim especially. It's such an important, not task, it's an important
skill,
life skill. When I'm sore, I go swim. I'm a chiropractor. When I'm sore, swimming loosens me up. I mean, I promote that to everybody. I promote the rec center to everybody. But on that note, I do want to ask that you give the vote to the people because the people will know, like Shay said and Brock and a bunch of other people said, the people here, including myself, we are business owners, we manage money all the time, and we should have a say in what happens. And I just appreciate your time and thank you for listening.
Thank you. Conrad Ostrone and Leland Poppy on deck.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members. I'm Conrad Bostron, and get this, I'm from 1350 Beverly Boulevard, Gearing, Nebraska. So I'm the CEO of the Scottsbluff Family YMCA, and I want to make it clear tonight, we support the efforts in this community. We're impressed by it. We're doing the same thing in our community for an aquatic center. We too have a pool that is not legal, we can't compete in. We have to go to McCook, just like these guys do to compete. It's our nearest place. But the management agreement, if there ever is one with the Scottsbluff YMCA, is not on the ballot. It is a tax initiative. That decision, if it happens, will be later down the road. Not the city council, if they put it on the ballot tonight, it's not a decision about the YMCA. It's a decision about letting the voters decide if they will approve a sales tax. And if the voters approve the sales tax, it's not an agreement that there's a management with the YMCA. We hope there is, and we hope there will be. But most importantly, it's letting the community decide what they want to do in regard to a sales tax. So thank you.
Thank you. Leland Poppy and then Lori McCune on deck.
Mayor, City Council members, Leland Poppy, 1202 Custer Court. My message tonight is first to say thank you. Thank you to everybody on the City Council. We've spent a lot of time visiting about it. You've all listened to our ideas that we've had, and also to all the members that were a part of the Alliance. I looked back in my journal 6 years ago, September. Fiona Lebsag, Treg Vasorik, and I traveled to Columbus. We spent 2 days touring the Columbus facility, trying to come up with ideas for funding, how they designed it, and that was just part of that process that's continued over the years, which has been 6-7 years longer than that. But it's been a big effort, a lot of thought, a lot of process going into this. And so my message tonight is just thank you to you, the city councilman, and then also all the members that have been participating in the Alliance. You've heard from us plenty, but that's the message tonight, and I appreciate your vote. We're excited about the project that's brought forward and look forward to continuing to communicate that to our citizens of North Platte. Thank you.
Thank you. Lori McEwen and Jordan Cudney on deck.
Lori McKeown, 1215 Burlington. Over 40 years ago, my husband and I moved into this community. We were excited. It had a new rec center, and it was really cool. And we took our kids there, and they got their swimming lessons, and we thought it was great. Now, 40 years later, I've gone with my grandkids to that same pool, and not much has changed except a lot of dilapidation. I find that hard to believe that we can't keep up with what we need to do as a community. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak here as a citizen. I like the idea of self-government where you can get up and talk to your representatives and talk to you all who are going to vote. I also would appreciate the right to vote on this issue. So I ask that you would put this on the ballot. Thank you.
Jordan Cudney up and Kelly Dykeman on deck.
Just want to say thank you to the mayor and the city council for providing the opportunity to have citizens speak. There's been a lot of great things said here this evening in favor of allowing the citizens to vote on this important matter. I'm going to speak from the educational side of things. I've been in education for over 17 years now, as a teacher, as a coach, and now as an administrator. One of the biggest things that we see in the central and western part of the state is the competition for young professional teachers coming out of college into the teaching profession. You can see it nationally. Fewer and fewer people are getting into teaching, and that means the more competitive market to get educators into school districts. I believe we would all agree that education is the foundation of a community. The people that are teaching the next generation are critical in sustaining a population. Right now in western Nebraska and even central Nebraska, there are core positions, whether it's elementary or secondary, that are getting 0 applicants. We cannot fill math, English, science in small communities like Cozad, which I was in as an administrator, as well as North Platte. If we do not have the needed amenities to recruit and retain educational professionals, that will have a significant impact on the future of this community and on the education that our children and our grandchildren will receive. This is a critical issue to be able to maintain the opportunity to get educators to come and to stay in our community. I travel across the state with my profession quite a bit, just as other people are attesting to. What's being proposed, with this sales tax is the norm in communities our size. It's not the exception. I don't think the proposition is for something extravagant. It is the norm of communities our size. And I know we've gotten excited about the mall project, and it's going to be a great opportunity for this community. I was in Gretna a few weeks back for some state competitions, and on that side of the state, there's 3 to 5 of those being built at one time. In order to maintain the opportunity to recruit and retain educators to this region, we need to have the amenities, the facilities, and the opportunities to recruit and retain those teachers and those families. Again, we thank you so much for your service, and we do ask that as a council you allow the city the opportunity to vote to put this on the ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly Dykeman and Maggie Carson on deck.
Hi, Kelly Dykeman, 2502 Cedarberry Lane. I am in pretty much agreement with what everybody has said here tonight, but I have one thing that I haven't heard. Last election cycle, we had a half-cent sales tax presented, and the people voted it down. So what do we have for Plan B or C? I mean, you don't have to answer this tonight, but has that been considered? If they don't want this big of a project, what do we have as an alternative? I'm not in disagreement that we need something. I've taken my kids and my grandkids to the rec center too, and I've watched it deteriorate, but I still love going. Yes, it needs work. Yes, we need something. But what do we have as an alternative just in case? So I would appreciate it if all of you council members would, visit with this. And if you have any ideas, come out and talk to the people. You've got to come out and talk to us. I put a comment on Facebook, and there were 400. I think Ty commented. Brad, you commented. There were over 400 people commenting on that. Most of them are for it. There is a percentage, like myself, that worries, how are we going to pay for it? We're in a recession. So our leaders don't want to call it that. They don't know what to call it anymore. But it's not that. So that's a concern. It's a concern for a lot of us. Is this going to come out so that it is paid for in 15 years, 20 years, 30, 40, 50 years? How long is it going to take to pay for it? Because if it's 30 years, 40 years, now we're going to have to redo it again because then it's deteriorated. So there's just questions that I have that I would really like to have some input from all of you. Thank you very much for your time, and appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you. Maggie Carson. And on deck is Joe Hughley.
Maggie Carson, 3214 Meadow Court. Can you hear me?
You might get just a little closer. Sorry, Maggie, you're
Maggie
kind of tall.
Carson, 3214 Meadow Court. I'm born and raised here. I left for college and I came back. So many times I hear, why do you live in North Platte? Good question. We're okay. We're mediocre. We're getting good, though. We're getting better because of the things you guys put through and the things that everybody here is doing. The people here love this town, so why not make it better? Why not keep going? The numbers I saw today, I'm super happy I came. I didn't know those numbers. They're valid. Another number I've heard that I don't know if is true or not, only 14% of the people of the town are going to use these facilities. So why spend the money for them? I think this is the whole reason of the vote. That other percentage, Let them decide if they want it, whether they use it or not. I think they're going to be proud to see it, to see people use it, just to see people come to our community to get a better label of this town. So please let us vote.
Thank you. Joe Hughley, on deck, Ginger Addy.
Good evening. My name is Joe Hughley. I live at 1002 Deerwood Drive, North Platte. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, thank you for taking your time. I'm going to be very brief because I have no new information. The one thing I would ask, I've been an elected official for 37 years, I think. Sometimes we're asked to make tough decisions. I wish I could steal Mr. Backenstow's thunder, but this is not a tough decision. All we're asking you to do is to allow the people of this community that pay the taxes to have a say as to whether or not they want this issue to pass. We're just asking you to give them the opportunity. Doesn't matter if we're for or against it. That's not what we're here to talk about. Please make it an easy decision. And I say members of the council, I didn't say members of Ward 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, because you're city council persons, okay? I don't just represent District Number 1, I represent Lincoln County. That's all I'm asking. Give the people a right to vote. Thank you very much for your time.
Ginger Addy, and lastly, Tanner Patera on deck.
Hi, I'm Ginger 80. I reside at 4702 Valley Drive here in North Platte. I kind of have a different perspective. My love-hate relationship with the rec center started about 20 years ago as a lifeguard and as a swim teacher, and currently today I still train swimmers and teach swimming. Some of the things with the pool that always have concerned me are our high school swimmers, okay? The pool is not even deep enough for them to really do even a flip turn. And when we have adult swimmers there, even today, because I swear to God, once a lifeguard, always a lifeguard, when you see somebody do a flip turn there, you always wonder about them hitting their head, a guard jumping in, and then having to backboard them because it's so shallow. Now, for swim lessons, sometimes that's really good, but that could easily be solved with zero entry. And that's a nice thing to have as a swim teacher as well. In the winter, it's really frustrating to be able to schedule my swim lessons because the swim team, they close down the entire pool and nobody else can use it but them. And that's extremely frustrating, not only to me, but a large majority of other people who are trying to use the pool during that time as well. The other thing that I have also not heard too terribly much about is Cody Pool. Cody Pool, it needs a lot of help as well. And I encourage you to kind of think about that as well. The bathhouses, that thing is 70 years old. 70 years old, and it's creepy in the basement, trust me. It is, but it's still creepy. One of the things, if you go into locker rooms, one of the things that would be very nice is family bathrooms. None of our facilities have those. And whenever I see a father walk out of the locker room with their daughter, I always kind of wonder, would you have rather had this option? So there's a lot of other things that could easily be fixed there. Also, the splash pad could easily be put in at there as well. There's so many updates, but regardless, we can all sit here and say, we want this, we want that. But I ask you today just to put it on the ballot. Let us vote for it. Let us make that decision if we want this. And I'm there every single day almost. And I really, really want this for this town. So please, I ask you to vote yes on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Tanner Patera. And that will be the last one. So make it good, Tanner.
Being last, short and sweet, right? No timer? You're just going to let me go?
Go.
Okay. Tanner Patera, 3821 Sugarberry Court. All of you I've talked to many times on many subjects, so I'm here tonight to talk about the thing at hand. The one thing I guess that I mean, there's lots of things that I would say the same thing. The one thing I guess I want to point out is we're talking about a 0.5-cent sales tax increase. All of our, I believe, majority, if not all of the peer cities we consider peer cities are already at this sales tax level. So once again, we're potentially missing out in North Platte on additional revenue that could be coming into the city to be used for anything, not just a rec center initiative. This could be eventually used down the road for a public safety building, for roads. Nobody likes about roads, so it's not about roads. That went bad last time. But it's just one thing that, I mean, we need something done with the rec center. We are at a stage where the rec center is going to present an issue that if we don't do anything now, we are going to have to shut down the rec center. Because I know that there's been discussions about renovating the rec center and doing minor repairs, but a minor repair to a building that age is going to be millions of dollars, which we don't have in our building budget to just throw at the rec center without figuring out some way to supplement the income to resolve the issue. So, I mean, nobody likes taxes. Do I want to pay more taxes? Not really. But I like roads, I like facilities, I like parks, and this is just the world we live in. So, I mean, honestly, when this moves forward, who knows what's going to happen if the people get to decide, but the most important thing about the democracy we live in is giving the people the chance to express their opinion and vote. So, thank you for your time, and I appreciate all the service you all do and taking the time to talk to me over the last couple of years on things.
Thank you. We have one late addition, Kirsten Parker.
Sorry, set
Kirst-
up for real days.
Kirsten, you're the last one. You got about a minute and a half. Or
I don't
two-
even need
2
that
minutes.
much time.
Okay,
So
go for it.
Kirsten Parker, 4001 West Redwood. And I just want to ask you to please let the voters make the decision on this. This is such an important opportunity for our community, and it affects every single one of our citizens and every single one of our residents and every single one of our voters. And I believe that each and every one of them should have the opportunity to give their opinion, to give their vote, and to follow the process of what it's set for. So I would just ask you to please allow us to put this on the ballot in November. Thank you.
Okay, we appreciate everyone's comments. Thank you very much. Now we're going to turn the discussion to the council itself. So we're all welcome to stay. We'll try to keep it cool in the room. Okay, council, discussion on item number 3. Or would you like to just vote?
I'll speak. I just want to thank the committee for all your hard work. And all the people that are here in attendance. I wish our council chamber was filled every meeting, no matter what the topic was. I just like to have you involved in city government. What I heard tonight was, it's the pool. It's the pool. I didn't hear anything about walking trails. I didn't hear anything about basketball courts, pickle courts, weight rooms. So my question is, can we amend or alter the proposal possibly to address the pool issues? That would cut down the bond requirement. The city wouldn't be in debt as much. I don't know, I would like for that, I guess. I'd like to see that. And I think this plan, it's it's fabulous. But I think with inflation and the sign of our times right now, the big plan might be shelved for a later date. And I guess I'd be interested in knowing just what we could do with just the pool. Seems to be the issue. Thank you.
Other elements of discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I too would like to thank the Wellness Committee for all the work that you guys have done. I've had conversations with many of you, sat in on some of the meetings, had several hours of phone calls, and I appreciate your calling me and expressing your thoughts. One of the things that I've given a lot of thought to here in the last couple of days is the whole idea of democracy. We don't live in a democracy. We live in a constitutional republic where we have elected representatives who represent us at the various councils, in the Senate, and in the Congress. We all had an opportunity to exercise our vote, at least in my case, for being on the council 4 years ago. The people in my ward voted me to be their representative on the council. So, from my perspective, in no way, shape, or form, regardless of how I vote, am I going to take a vote away from you? Because by our constitutional process and by the statute itself, the statute says that we have to have a 70% margin in favor to put it on the ballot. I didn't read all of the background information that Mr. Krasinski did. I think it was you, Bill. But my perception of having the 70% is to make sure that frivolous items don't end up on the ballot. This is a vetting process, and it takes a very high standard to even get it on the ballot. So I look at this from the standpoint that I heard all what you guys said, and I appreciate your coming here, and I appreciate you young people on the swing team. I concur with what Councilwoman Trine said. All I heard was about the pool. I too agree with you all. The rec center is in desperate need of work. I'm not sure how we got in this situation, but we're there, we're here. I did some looking into opportunities to update the existing facility. I talked to a friend of mine who's been in construction, heavy construction, for years and years and years. And he's very intimately, has a very intimate knowledge about the rec center. And I was told that it was his belief that we could spend somewhere around 10, maybe $11 million, put a new roof on the rec center, put a new HVAC system in the rec center, update all of the weightlifting and amenities within the building itself, and probably for another $1.5 million, maybe $2 million, we could cut the bottom out of the pool, dig it down, make the pool regulation size, and we would have a regulation pool that could be used for meets. So that's a considerably smaller amount than upwards of $60 million for these two projects. When I look at the numbers, I'm excited about where North Platte is. I think we have some opportunities before us that are probably never been available to our community ever. We have opportunities with sustainable beef and with the rail park to improve the financial lot of our citizenry better than any time in the history of North Platte. I really believe that. And when we do that, that means people are going to have more disposable income. They're going to be able to spend more money. And I think that's important. That's why I think we need these jobs. Jobs are critical to bringing people to our town. And I understand that the amenities may have some bearing on whether people come to town or not. But if there's no job, they don't have any way to feed their family. So the jobs are critical. When I looked at this, the proposed budget, the proposed project cost is approaching $60 million. Now that does include the bond amount, and it does include the foundation amount. But there's other expenses that our community is going to have to spend money on. I think it was mentioned by somebody about a new public safety building. Our public safety building is an old hospital. It's been used by the police department by 40 years? 45, okay. They've used it up. It doesn't fit the bill anymore. And as I look at government, there's three primary functions of government. Number one is public safety. That means police and fire protection. Number two is to provide good roadways for commerce and trade. And in the case of North Platte, number three would be providing the utilities that we rely on in our town. That would be water, sewer, and electricity. The other things that I look at are things that are nice to have, but they aren't true functions of government. So when I look at the cost of replacing that public safety building, and I ask Administrator Groseth to help me with that number. And his recommendation or his thought was, well, if we're gonna be building a new public safety building, maybe we ought to include the city hall in it. Maybe we ought to include, which would include municipal light and water, the police department, and of course, that would mean we would need a new fire hall along with it. As I recall, Lane, your numbers were somewhere between $35 and $45 million to build that building. So when I add 35 and 45 million to 60 million, I'm at 100 million. We're on the cusp of tremendous changes in our town, changes that are going to be very beneficial for us. And with change, with influx of new people, the city's going to have to spend some money that we don't know we're going to have to spend today. But we're probably going to have to put in some new streets. We're probably going to have to put in some new water service, some new electrical service. So maybe we're going to throw another $20 million into that. Now we're at $120 million of bonded indebtedness in the next 5 to 10 years. The numbers that I show and kind of what Don showed us tonight, the payout cost of that bond is about double what the cost of the bond is. So within 20 years, we're going to be potentially obligating the citizens of our town to $250 million of debt payment. We don't have any new people in our town yet. We don't have any new wages in our town yet. Now, I'm hoping we do, but we don't have them now. So I just personally believe it's very imprudent to obligate us as a community to this kind of money. Another thing that came across my mind is we were compared with other YMCA's. I believe all of the YMCA's in our area, in our region, are owned by the YMCA. They are not owned by the municipality. That's a big difference. Because if the city owns the rec complex, we're the city going to be on the hook for it all the time. And if the YMCA isn't able to make it work, the city's going to have to step up and make it work. And we went through this not too long ago with the golf course, where we hired a management company to manage a golf course. It didn't work, and we spent the money. I think somebody mentioned about the current economic situation that we're in. I don't know about you guys, but once in a while I like to go to McDonald's in the morning after Mass to get a sandwich. I went to McDonald's yesterday morning. I bought a sandwich, egg and cheese muffin, and a cup of coffee and potatoes. $7.58. Inflation is right now somewhere between 10 and 17%, and by the Federal Reserve Bank president in Minneapolis, there's no end in sight. I guess my thought is that this proposal is a wonderfully nice proposal, but I'm not convinced that we can afford it. I think there's some lesser cost options that we can spend our money on. We can update the facilities. We can provide the amenities that our community really does need. And I agree, we need to update the rec complex, and I think we really need to update at least the changing rooms and areas for the Cody pool. But I think we can do it for a lot less than the type of money we're talking about here. And so I have a real hard time in my own mind putting this out to a vote. Not because I'm opposed to letting you vote, but I come back again as a council member and evaluating the circumstances that we find ourselves in. I think it's very imprudent, and it would be violation of my own conscience, honestly, to support it.
Other comments from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Go ahead, Mr. Lucas.
Yeah, you know, this is a big one. In the time I've been on this council, this is definitely a top 5 decision, in my opinion, of things that will tremendously impact our community. And I've looked at all the research, I've looked at the state law extensively, and I really believe our job here is to shepherd this process. I think it's been done right. You know, the committee's been working on this for years. Frankly, I've been wondering for 2 or 3 years where this proposal was, but it's because they were vetting it out so thoroughly and looking at it from all angles. Public meetings, surveys, I remember taking an online survey several years ago, many people did. And I'm still waiting for the opposition to this to show up and testify tonight because I'm not seeing anybody. And I think this is the issue. I've been contacted more by constituents on this issue than any single issue in my 3.5 years on the council. Just a couple of things I think we need to stay focused on too. Our sales tax growth has been lighter here than what you've seen in most communities in the state. It's starting to ramp up. I think the 3% projections are really conservative with the things that we have going on in the community. And also we've been in practically a 0 or 2% inflation world. Inflation in itself will grow some of that. You know, realistically, 4, 5, and 6% targets are not out of whack. If that's the case, these bonds pay off in 13, 14, 15, maybe 16 years. That tells me we can afford it, and it's not outside of the scope for what we can afford. At that point in time, the tax would sunset, and then the community could decide at that point if there was a project worthy of it or not. I like the specificness of this specificity of this plan. It's a thorough plan. It came with recommendations we're looking for. I think it's time for the voters to decide. And we ask ourselves, well, how do we get ourselves in this situation with the rec center? It's because we haven't grown as a community. It's that simple. I mean, Mr. Barr and his staff have held that facility together in every way, shape, and form you can imagine. That facility could have easily been dead 10 or 15 years ago. They've held it together. But the reason we don't have anything nicer is because we haven't grown. And the reason we haven't grown is because we haven't invested in ourselves as a community. The fact that this is even controversial just strikes me, because this is about going to the voters to make a decision on this. But to me, it's very clear, if we don't invest in ourselves, we're not going to grow. And if we don't grow, we're going to sit here trying to solve problems down the road of things we can't afford because we didn't learn how to generate enough tax revenue through growth to afford the things we need. I absolutely agree that we're going to need a public service building and a new city hall. I think we're going to have to plan for those, but I've never met anybody who's moved to a community because of the quality of their city hall or their police station.
Amen.
But I certainly think recreation's different from that. So I really encourage the council just to make sure we're taking seriously, and I know you are, and I do have respect for the process and the law, but this is a big decision.
Other comments?
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to speak on behalf of everybody sitting out here, I believe, and I shouldn't speak for people, but Ed, you posed a lot of questions, okay? You talked to a friend that said he could do this. These guys have spent 6 years, 7 years formulating that plan. I'm going to put stock into what they say in this case. I agree 110% with you. We do need a new public service building. We can chew gum and walk at the same time and figure out a way to fund that. This has taken 7 years to formulate a solid plan. It'll probably take 4, 5, 6 years to figure out the public service plan if we do it diligently, okay? And you also said no one has moved here yet. We used a phrase in the Air Force, the 6 Ps. And some people laugh at me, but prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. So that's what we're doing here. We're preparing for people to come in. Things don't get done in a day. And I reviewed a lot of city council meetings the past few days. And you brought up during the mall vote your frustration, and I think we all had the frustration, and you kind of verged on the pandemic. And the frustration people had when citizens and business were mandated to adhere to certain protocols. And you said on May 4th in these council chambers, we're people and we can make our own decisions. I agree with that decision. We're a representative democracy, but in this case, with this decision, I'm willing to pass this down to the people of North Platte and let them decide if this is what they want to do. Thank you.
Other comments or questions? Mr. Nisley?
I would just like to state briefly, I believe in young people. I believe in young families, and that's the future. And I'm in favor of this. I believe in democracy. I'm not concerned if the people are intelligent, they can vote on this issue. If they vote for it, God bless them. If they vote against it, God bless them. You know, our job is make it work. That's what our job is. Give them the opportunity to vote on the issue. That's what I believe. That's what this country is all about, you know. Been that way from the very beginning. Our sense of independence, we can do it. Just give us a chance. That's all I want to say about this.
Okay, there've been a couple questions. I'm sorry, Ms. Tryon, did you have something else?
Well, go ahead. I
Okay.
can make my comments later.
Okay. There've been a couple of questions asked here recently, so one, I think, is regarding a lot of talk about the pool. So Megan, would you take a minute and review for us, or Leland, the research that you guys did to arrive at this recommendation?
So earlier I mentioned the Green Place study. This was, again, it was a firm that came in, they specialize in municipal recreation opportunities. And that firm took several weeks in our community to do a public input session in a variety of ways. We did online surveys, there were hard copy surveys, they did public listening sessions, public meetings, focus groups. There was just a number of ways that we gleaned information directly from the members of the community on recreation amenities we currently have, recreation amenities that we would desire, things that we would want to see in a community, as well as the things that we have we don't use, kind of a use percentage, if you will. So the top 3 items in that survey that for use in terms of recreation were Lake Maloney was number 1, Cody Park and Pool were number 2, and the rec center was number 3. So those were the highest ranked recreation amenities that that people use in North Platte. They also asked, what would you like to see? And they gave us a list of, well, they had the community rank, what do you want to see in a rec center, or what kind of amenities do you want to see in the community? The top several, and I don't have the list with me tonight, but there were probably 8 on the top list. Indoor walking track was probably 1 or 2. An indoor swimming pool that's regulation size, a pool with play features, a family pool, so something for young children, expanded weight room and cardio space, and then a multi-purpose like turf area and more gym space. So those were the top 8 or 10 amenities that the people of North Platte said they wanted to see in terms of recreation amenities in North Platte. So what we did was take those top features and we asked a designer to create a concept using our existing recreation center, expanding it and renovating it and putting those elements into it. That's where we got the estimate. Was coming from that. So adding on space that would accommodate for the additional gym space, the turf area, the 2 swimming pools, the walking track. That's the information came directly from the people. The Recreation Alliance is just a vehicle that's bringing it forward to you, again, as requested by the City Council. So.
Thank you. Sorry, we seem to be having microphone troubles a little bit tonight. People keep telling me they can't hear, so if you're speaking, please get close to your microphone like I am. I'm not going to ask Megan to go up there and repeat all that, but.
Really good.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, any other questions or comments by the council? Ms. Tryon, you have the floor.
I'd say I'm a native Nebraskan, and I have lived from the western to the eastern part of the state and 2 other states. And I never have moved because of amenity in the town. I always moved because of a job. So North Platte needs jobs to get people to move here. And with that, then we will have growth, and then we can have some of these amenities that we want. But we gotta have that job first, folks. I'm sorry. I don't know how else to do it. I came from a mountainous area where there was a lot of physical fitness people, and I came to North Platte, and I'm walking everywhere, and I'm the only person walking in this town, so it seemed, and I said something to somebody about it, it's so flat here, and I've told this story before. It's so flat here, I said, why don't people walk? And they said, well, they think you lose your driver's license if you walk in this town. So, I told my boss one day, I said, if I don't make it to work some morning, you know I got run over. This is another issue in this town, okay? I don't know if anybody from the police department's here or not, but the drivers in this town don't really show a lot of respect for bicyclists and walkers. I'm sorry. I'll just get that off my chest, okay? So I do believe there is some personal responsibility for our fitness. And I don't know if it's the government's place to provide all of that for us, but I'm all for a pool, okay? Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on the part of the council? Okay, as was stated by someone earlier, or maybe multiple people, so I don't remember who, this vote, in order to pass, requires that, let me read the information exactly, at least 70% of the members of the governing body of the incorporated municipality. In that case, what that means is even though Mr. Carmen is not with us tonight, he is counted in that figure. So that means in order for this to pass, 6 of the council members that are here must vote for it in favor tonight. Otherwise, this motion will fail.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Lucas.
may I move to table the issue?
Second.
Okay. There's no further debate on the motion to table. Calling the question on tabling. Mr. Lucas and Mr. Woods, you're not showing up yet. Okay, there you go. Okay, the motion is tabled. This issue is now tabled until the next meeting. Okay, we're going to set a record on public hearings tonight, which all of you are welcome to stay for if you would like. However, they will have nothing to do with the rec center. So if you would like to depart and come back and visit us in a couple weeks when we will take this issue up again, that's fine. Council, we will take a 10-minute break and let everybody exit gracefully. Reconvene at 7:35. Okay, item number 4, adopt the resolution consenting to the sale and consumption of alcoholic liquor on East 5th Street and North Dewey Street during Music on the Bricks, August 12th and 13th, 2022. Sorry, I know that was kind of a harsh return, but we don't want to be here till midnight.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt the resolution consenting to the sale and consumption of alcoholic liquor on East 5th and North Dewey Street during Music on the Bricks on August 12 and 13, 2022.
Motion Lucas, second Garrick. Any discussion on item number 4? Calling the question on item number 4, please. Item number 4 is passed. Item number 5, approve the application by GL Concepts LLC DBA Good Life on the Bricks for a special designated license on August 12th, 2022 from 1 p.m. to 1 a.m. on August 13th, 2022 from 1 p.m. to 12 a.m. on East 5th Street, yes, that's right, and North Dewey Street during Music on the Bricks.
Mr. Mayor, you got it.
Okay, Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the application of GL Concepts LLC DBA Good Life on the Bricks for a special designated license on August 12, 2022 from 1 o'clock p.m. till 1 o'clock a.m. on August 13, 2022 from 1 o'clock p.m. to 1 o'clock a.m. on East 5th Street and North Dewey Street during Music on the Bricks.
Second.
Motion Reeker, second Vols. Any discussion on item number 5? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 5. Item number 5 is passed. Item number 6, refer the City of North Platte, Nebraska Blight and Substandard Study, Wilkinson Study Area as prepared by Marvin Planning Consultants, Inc. to the City Planning Commission for a public hearing to determine if the proposed area qualifies as blighted and substandard.
I move to refer the City of North Platte, Nebraska Blight and Substandard Study, Wilkinson Study Area as prepared by Marvin Planning Consultants, Incorporated, to the City of North Platte Planning Commission for a public hearing to determine if the proposed area qualifies as blighted and substandard.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Lucas. Any discussion on item number 6? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 6. This item passes. Now we have what I like to call Judy's long string of public hearings. Okay. First public hearing, action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4096 to vacate a 16-foot alley easement and retain a 16-foot utility easement between West 14th Street and West 13th Street.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt.
Hold on a second.
Oh, we have to read the ordinance. Sorry.
Ready? Ordinance? Where do we have? Oh, this is, oh, well, usually I read it for the public hearing, but that's fine. Okay, go ahead and read the vote.
Ordinance number 4096, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, vacating a 16-foot alley located between West 14th Street and West 13th Street, more particularly the alley south of lots 1 through 5 Bukowski's replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and north of lots 6 through 10 Bukowski's replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and to retain a 16-foot easement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. Okay, we're in a public hearing, so no reading quite yet. Okay, thank you. Anyone wishing to speak on this issue, please approach the mic and do so. Going once, going twice.
I move to close the public hearing.
Okay.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Vols. Calling the question and closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is now closed. Council will consider item number 7, action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4096 that was read a moment ago to vacate a 16-foot alley easement and retain a 16-foot utility easement between West 14th Street and West 13th Street.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4096 to vacate a 16-foot alley easement and retain a 16-foot utility easement between West 14th Street and West 13th Street on first reading.
Motion and a second by Garrick. Motion by Vols, second by Garrick. Any discussion on item number 7? Seeing none, calling the question on, oh, Mr. Reeker, did you have something?
Well, I just was gonna ask, Mr. Mayor, if we're vacating the alley easement, but we're retaining the utility easement, the owner of the property won't be able to build anything within that easement property, correct?
Correct.
That's correct,
They
yes.
still can build on the easement, but they won't be used as an alley.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions or discussion on item number 7? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 7, please. Item number 7 is passed. Another public hearing. Action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4095 to vacate 2 16-foot alley easements and retain a 16-foot utility easement between East 2nd Street and Johnson Street running east and west. Would you please read the ordinance?
Ordinance number 4095, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, vacating a 16-foot alley located between East 2nd Street and East Johnson Street from Welch Avenue East on the south side of lots 1 through 6, Frederick C. subdivision, and the north side of lots 7 through 12, Johnson's replat, North Platte, Nebraska, and vacating a 16-foot alley located between East 2nd Street and East Johnson Street on the east side of Lot 1, Frederick C. subdivision, and east side of Lot 12, Johnson's replat, and west side of Lot 2, McGowan First replat, Nebraska, and to retain a 16-foot easement, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing number 2 is open. Anyone wishing to comment on item number 8, which involves some alleys and utility easements, please come to the microphone. It's not looking promising, folks.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second?
Motion by Garrick, second by Reeker. Calling the question and closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is closed. Council will consider action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4095 as previously read to vacate 2 16-foot alley easements and retain a 16-foot utility easement between East 2nd Street and Johnson Street running east and west.
Mayor Giller, I move to adopt ordinance number 4095 to vacate 2 16-foot alley easements and retain a 16-foot utility easement between East 2nd and Johnson Street running east and west on first reading.
Second.
Motion Nisley, second Vols. Any discussion on item number 8? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 8, please. Okay, item number 8 is passed. Item number 9, public hearing. Adopt the recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission for an amendment to the North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map to amend certain lands from residential-medium density single duplex and multi-family to commercial located at 1801 East 2nd Street. This is a public hearing on item number 9. Would anyone like to comment on item number 9? It would appear not.
I move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close public hearing by Garrick, second by Reeker. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Mr. Woods. Thank you. Public hearing is now closed. Council will consider adopting the recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission for an amendment to the North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map to amend certain lands from residential-medium density single duplex and multifamily to commercial located at 1801 East 2nd.
I move to adopt the recommendation by the North Platte Planning Commission for an amendment to the North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 Future Land Use Map to amend certain lands from residential medium density single duplex and multifamily to commercial located at 1801 East 2nd Street as indicated on the attached map.
Second.
Motion Vols, second Nisley. Any discussion on item number 9?
reason for this amendment? Was this because of a business or something? I went to the planning meeting, but I can't remember if this was the one.
Judy, would you come up and answer, please? I know you can hear me, but I'm doing this for the folks at home.
Judy Clark, Planning Administrator. Yes, this, in order to rezone a property, this is in conjunction, submitted in conjunction with the next item on the agenda. So in order to rezone a property, it has to be in conformance with the comprehensive plan. So that's what you're doing right here, is amending that to allow for the rezoning in the next item. But yes, it's currently a residential home or currently exists in a residential district. They're wanting to use it for a commercial property.
Mr. Reeker?
Mr. Mayor, Judy, do you know what the proposed use is?
Drywall company, the applicants are here if you would like to talk to them, but it's a drywall.
Okay, I guess I'd like to know what they're planning on building and what kind of.
To my knowledge, they're not planning on building anything right now. They just want to use it currently as it is, the garage.
In front of the mic, Judy.
Storage, sorry. The garage as storage for their drywall business. The house, I believe, is currently rented.
All right, thank you.
Other questions or discussion on item number 9? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 9, please. Item number 9 is passed. Item number 10, public hearing. Action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4097 to rezone certain land from an R2 dwelling district to a B-2 highway commercial district on property located at 1801 East 2nd Street and described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Platte View subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska. Lane, would you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4097, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning certain lands described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Platte View subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, from an R2 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. Public hearing on this one, folks. Anyone interested, come to the microphone. Not looking promising.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Lucas. Calling the question and closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is closed. Council will now consider action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4097 as previously read to rezone certain land from an R2 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district on property located 1801 East 2nd Street, described as the west 172.4 feet of the south 112 feet of Lot 55, Flatview subdivision, North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska.
Mr. Mayor, I move to adopt ordinance number 4097 to rezone certain land from an R2 dwelling district to a B2 highway commercial district on first reading.
Second.
Motion Reeker, second Garrick. Any discussion on item number 10? Calling the question on item number 10, please. Item number 10 is passed. Another public hearing. On action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4098 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an I1 light industrial district on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue. Lane, would you read the ordinance, please?
Ordinance number 4098, an ordinance of the City of North Platte, Lincoln County, Nebraska, rezoning certain lands described as a tract of land in the northeast quarter of Section 2, Township 13 North, Range 30 west of the 6 p.m., Lincoln County, Nebraska, from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an I1 light industrial, repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the effective date and publication thereof.
Thank you. Okay, public hearing is open on number 11. Any comments or questions from the public?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. Calling the question and closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is closed. Council will now consider action on Planning Commission's recommendation to adopt ordinance number 4098 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural district to an I1 light industrial district on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue.
I move to adopt ordinance number 4098 to rezone certain land from an A1 transitional agricultural to an I1 light industrial district on first reading.
Second.
I think Mr. Reeker beat you on that one, Mr. Knowles, so we'll give that one to him. Motion Garrick, second Reeker. Calling the, hold on, any discussion on item number 11?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I wanted to ask a question of our city engineer since he's in the room, if that's okay.
Thank you for breaking the monotony.
Brent, if you don't mind, I just wanted to get any thoughts you have on the access to this property, and I know that Newberry Road's been one that people have continued to express concerns about safety and all that on. Just wanted to see if you have any concerns from your end.
Again, my name is Brent Berkland, city engineer, Mayor, Councilman Lucas. Access, that is going to be highly governed by the state. The state is going to be the one that, since it's Newberry access and it's a state, it's a link up to Highway 30, it's a bypass route. That would be something that's going to have to be determined with the state, and it would be a break-in controlled access unless it's at a point that's already created. So anything on Newberry would have to be pretty heavily involved with the state. The state's going to have to approve it, and we'll have input as a city and as a community. But
If they would have to go to Phillip, does that, and I know that's a big property, so
correct.
you think there'd be a lot of room to work it out, but for the overall, I guess just, is there anything of concern matters on you, or I guess that would be looked at more at the building permit stage too, correct?
I guess from my perspective, a lot of the looking at it wouldn't necessarily be on the zoning, but it'd be on the subdivision portion.
Okay.
When the lots were, if there was something subdivided that would impact either East Phillip or Newberry, that would be more of the time that we'd look at it in detail of what's being looked at, size of lots, potential use, things like that, and then access to infrastructure. But on just the rezoning part, there isn't much to look at yet, so.
Nope, that makes sense. And from my standpoint, this area makes good sense for this, for the light industrial usage, so, yeah, thanks.
Other questions or comments on item number 11? Seeing none, calling the question on item number 11, please. Item number 11 has passed. Public hearing on item number 12, action on Planning Commission's recommendation to approve a conditional use permit to allow a 10 by 24 foot electronic advertising billboard on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue. This is a public hearing. Opening the public hearing officially. Any comments on this one? We have one. Okay.
So I just asked Judy this.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
I know we know who you
Kelly
are, but I'm sorry.
Deichman.
Thank you.
2502 Cedarberry Lane.
Okay, thanks, Kelly.
So I just asked Judy, she said this is at the end of Newberry on Phillip in that, I don't know if it's cornfield this year. I think it's cornfield. So this electronic sign is going to go right there on the corner, right? Do I understand that correctly?
In that vicinity,
Okay.
yes.
So is there any stipulations on these electronic signs that they have to be turned down at night? These things are blinding. That's why I ask. I hate the ones with the DQ and all of those for migraine sufferers and epilepsy people. That is a huge trigger for migraines and epilepsy and seizures. So when you have these electronic signs, you know, glaring at night, that's why I'm asking, is there some sort of ordinance that says they can be turned down so they're not so horrifically in your face when you come past those?
So we do have lumen level ordinances, but Judy, would you address that more directly, please?
Thank you.
We've been here for a while. It's okay.
Judy Clark, Planning Administrator. Yes, we do have a sign ordinance, sign regulations, and they do directly talk about illuminated signs. There's a certain speed that you can flash at. There's a certain number of lumens that you can use in order to do that. Additionally, this is on a state highway, like Brent Berkland had spoken to earlier. They also have additional regulations when it comes to signage. And that's honestly why this is being rezoned to industrial, because the city does allow billboards in an ag district, the state does not. So there's a lot of regulations that they have to fulfill with both the sign, the placement of the sign, and what they can run on the sign and how fast it can flash and those types of things. So, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
I would move to close the public hearing.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm
Thank you.
sorry.
No, that's fine.
Second?
Okay.
I was afraid you were making a different motion. Okay, motion Lucas, second Garrick. Calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is now closed. Council will now consider item number 12, action on Planning Commission's recommendation to approve a conditional use permit to allow a 10 by 24-foot electronic advertising billboard on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue.
Mayor Kelleher, I move that we find the request for a conditional use permit to allow a 10-foot by 20-foot electronic advertising billboard on property located at 3022 East Phillip Avenue meets the minimum standards stated in the North Platte Code of Ordinances, Section 156.322, and approve and grant the conditional use permit requested with the condition that all elements of the application are complied with and based upon the following factual findings. 1, the use shall conform to all applicable ordinances, laws, and regulations of any governmental jurisdiction. 2, the use shall have adequate water, sewer, and drainage facilities. 3, ingress and egress shall be so designated as to minimize traffic congestion in the public streets. 4, the use shall in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it is located. Number 5, the use shall be in harmony with the character of the area and the most appropriate use of the land.
Second.
Motion Nistley, second Garrick. Any further discussion on item number 12?
So I guess I just have a question. Since that's a corner, Newberry and Phillip, which direction is this sign going to be facing? Newberry or down Phillip, or is it going to be a V-shaped sign so you get everybody, or, I mean, I don't know.
Judy, do you know the answer to that question?
I'm going to let the applicant.
Okay. Hello, sir.
Good evening. My name is Joe Schown. My address is 9129 East Ealer Road, Stapleton. I own the property that we're discussing about. The sign will be placed 100 feet from the intersection and 40 south of the intersection and 40 feet from the property line. And the sign will be a dual-sided, and it'll face approximately 45 degrees at each angle. In other words, it won't be back to back, it's 45 degrees each one.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Just curious, so.
Pardon?
I was just curious.
Okay,
Thank
sure
you.
enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments on item number 12? Seeing none, calling the question. Number 12 is passed. Another public hearing on item number 13 to approve the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG, application for $73,000 to assist the City of North Platte and Lincoln County with updates to the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 and Lincoln County Comprehensive Development Plan 2013, the North Platte/Lincoln County, Nebraska Housing Needs Assessment 2018, creation of an affordable housing action plan, and creation of a strategic safe streets plan, and authorize mayor to sign all related documents. This is a public hearing on this matter. Opening the public hearing officially. Do we have any questions? Anyone wanting to make a comment? Mr. Garrick?
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion to close public hearing by Garrick, second by Lucas. Calling the question on closing the public hearing. Public hearing is closed. Council will now consider approving the Community Development Block Grant Program CDBG application for $73,000 to assist the City of North Platte and Lincoln County with updates to the City of North Platte Comprehensive Plan 2011 and Lincoln County Comprehensive Development Plan 2013 and North Platte/Lincoln County, Nebraska Housing Needs Assessment 2018, creation of an affordable housing action plan, and creation of a strategic safe streets plan, and authorize the mayor to sign related documents. All related documents.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the CDBG application for $73,000 to assist the City of North Platte and Lincoln County with updates to the existing North Platte, Nebraska Comprehensive Plan 2011, the Lincoln County Comprehensive Development Plan 2013, and the North Platte/Lincoln County, Nebraska Housing Needs Assessment 2018, creation of an affordable housing action plan, and creation of a strategic safe streets action plan, and authorize mayor to sign all related documents.
Second.
Motion Lucas, second Vols. Any discussion on item number 13?
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Reeker?
I'd like to have Judy help me understand this a little bit. How is this going to impact the need for interpreters?
Hey, Ed, would you get a little closer to your mic there? Thank you.
Mr. Mayor. Judy, how is this going to impact the need for interpreters?
Okay, so as one of the regulations when applying for a state CDBG grant, you do have to do an LEP analysis, which is a limited English proficiency analysis. That should have been in your packet. And basically, I don't think that it will impact. The way that it could impact is when we hold public meetings, because when you do plans like this, you're going to have multiple public meetings if you get the right consultant. They're going to bring people in for, just to discuss what they think, what they feel, where they want to see North Platte grow, those types of things. So they're going to have focus group meetings. So it could possibly, depending on who's at a meeting, if we have a Spanish-speaking individual, we could possibly need to have an interpreter there, those types of things. I did put on that LEP analysis that based on the percentage of limited English proficient people in the community, that probably would not be necessary. But if it is, we do have on staff, I believe, at the police department, one person that is fluent in Spanish, I believe, and also through the local court system, county court and federal court, we do have access to get interpreters for different languages if we need to.
Thank you.
Judy, if I may, I just have a question. It says the City of North Platte as a whole is not considered LMI. Is that income?
Yeah, low to moderate income. That is something that you have to qualify for in order to be eligible to apply for community development block grants. The City of North Platte isn't large enough to be considered an entitlement community. Lincoln, Omaha, Grand Island all get granted CDBG funds without being competitive. So we're stuck competing with smaller communities that do have a low to moderate income average as a whole. There are parts of North Platte that do qualify, so that does put us in the running and gives us a little bit of a competitive edge if we can focus on maybe having some of those focus meetings in some of those low to moderate income areas.
I'd like to ask Judy, is this update mandated by some other government higher than us to do this?
The Affordable Housing Action Plan is something that we are required by the state of Nebraska to have completed in 2024. That is part of what we're doing. What I looked at doing is combining all of these updates into one for more cost effectiveness. Comprehensive plans, as you can see, we did an amendment to our comprehensive plan. That shows you that you need to go in and update those comprehensive plans. Is it mandatory? No. But if you're working from a comprehensive plan that's 10, 15, 20 years old, all you're going to be doing is amending it. And as your community grows, you need to always look at changing that, updating it, and doing it constantly. A comprehensive plan is good generally only for about 5 to 10 years. Otherwise, depending on your community. Now, if your community's stagnant, maybe you wouldn't have to do one quite so frequently. Is it mandated? No, but in order to make good planning decisions, you need to have a good comprehensive plan behind you.
Okay, because it seemed like, to me, we're always amending. always amending.
Yes, and that's a good example of why we need to get in there and do a whole study again, look at it and see what we need to change.
Because right now it's old. I mean,
Yes,
it's
that
been
is
a while,
correct.
So after it's amended, then we maybe wouldn't be getting so many amendments.
That is the hope, yes. And again, it depends on how your community grows, and we felt that this was a really good time to start doing it because of all the things that are occurring.
You have something to add, Lane?
I may add, we looked at this and we looked at a number of the grant opportunities that are, before us, and all these pieces are needed, and there's thousands of dollars in savings by doing this as a one shot instead of doing them each piecemeal. It's kind of been done before. The strategic safe streets and the housing, affordable housing action will open up some grant opportunities for the city that we can't apply for unless we have these pieces. And again, we looked at, if we do all four at once instead of piecemealing it, there's quite a significant cost savings, and also working with the county on it, some more cost savings as well, and some grant opportunities for monies to pay for part of this. So that's the reason it's all being done at once, besides the time frame that some of these have been done, so.
Thank you.
Mr. Lucas?
I've got a whole ring of questions for you, Judy, so, sorry, I know
Perfect.
it's late. So if we would get the grant, are we then committed financially to what portion of the total projected cost?
The city is going to take on the majority of the cost simply because we're going to get the majority of the benefit. What we are obligated to, if we apply for this grant, get the funding and accept it. I mean, even if you they say, yes, you guys can have the funding, we don't have to take it. So if we do accept it, then we are only completely obligated to matching that $73,000. I mean, that doesn't obligate us to anything else. We can take the 73, we can match it, and we would share that match, which is, we have to match it at 40%. We would share that match with the county. So that is the only amount that we are obligated to. So if we can get a plan done for $100,000, then we can go with that. I don't think that there's any way of doing what we're wanting to do for $100,000. So at that point, and we are still looking for, some donations. There's a lot of community organizations that are good at giving funding for planning opportunities. So we're still looking at that also to help us pay for that.
And on the comprehensive plan, so I know that the housing study we need, because if like rural workforce housing funds became available, we'd need to have a current study likely for those types of programs. And I understand the strategic Safe Street action. What occurs that we have to have a comprehensive plan for, other than good planning, preparation, decisions, which I'll come back to that, but.
Well, in order to actually have a planning commission, you have to first have an adopted comprehensive plan. Now, that doesn't mean it has to be updated. We can be working from a comprehensive plan from, 1920 if we want to. It doesn't make any sense to do that. So our benefit, and especially now, when we did this back in 2012, we hired a consultant who then hired some additional people to help him out. The county got what I feel was a very good plan. The city, we actually paid more, and I think our plan was not very good, especially when it comes to land use planning and some of the goals of our community. I don't think that they hit the mark like they should have. And so I think we're working on a plan that looked at what the use of the properties were at that time and forgot to look at what the use of the properties may turn into, which is what a comp plan should be. You should be looking into the future to see what is going to happen, where the best growth is. And I don't believe that that plan did that. So can we work off this old plan? Yeah, we can continue to work off the old plan. It just doesn't give us a good guideline of where to base our future decisions on as a planning commission or as a city council.
And I talked to Judy about this earlier a little bit. The biggest concern I have after spending a lot of time on the planning commission, and I'm curious what you think about this in particular too, Pete, and on the city council, is that, we've been in a phase where we're if somebody comes in with an idea that makes sense, as a community, I think we're trying to do what we can to work with them. We don't have so much development coming at us that we need to pre-organize it that much, because we seem to be reacting to what, if this landowner or this land buyer or this development has a selected site, we're trying to usually work with that in a reactive state. I don't know that we have enough going on to where you can map it all out and still not spend. So I'm convinced that at this point in time, if we have a very pretty comp plan, that we're still going to be constantly amending it, because we're going to be looking at what people are wanting to do at whatever location for whatever their particular reasons are. But I also understand that we're sitting on a 2011 comp plan, and if we have outsiders asking for it, that type of thing, it looks pretty dated. But I mean, if that was going to cost the city $20 or $30 or $40 or $50,000 to have the comp plan portion of it, I'm a little concerned about us getting our value out of that portion. But I see the logic in trying to lump it all up and get some. I mean, I guess what I'm saying is if we could get a cheap comp plan out of this, then I'm kind of all for it. Otherwise, I don't see that much value, quite as much value in it. But anyway, you can respond to that.
We'll try to do it as cost efficiently as possible. And that is what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that.
I would just add that I've been spending quite a bit of time researching what the various ARPA grant opportunities are, and as you read those, many of them require that you have a comprehensive plan that's been updated within X number of years, and it's usually somewhere between 5 and 0.
Okay.
So I think for that reason alone, we could achieve millions of dollars in grants potentially, and we would be excluded from based just on our lack of comprehensive plan right now.
Okay. Well, that's a pretty good reason to do it then.
And this is generally a 18-month project, so by the time it is finished, I think we'll have a pretty decent idea of where we're going, I would think. I'm hoping.
This might be an over-the-top question, but is there any reason we can't update it and change the year on it? Good to go?
Oh, we probably can, but I think it's always good that you get some outside ideas. Yeah, could I update a comp plan? I guarantee you I could update a comp plan. But I really think it's good that you get experts in the field to come in and give us ideas. That's something that I may not think of. People might not like Judy Clark's idea. They might like, somebody from, I don't know, Grand Island, Kearney, something. They might have better ideas than what Judy Clark has.
Just amend it.
And one quick question. Does this include the villages of Maxwell, Hershey, and Sutherland, particularly Hershey and Sutherland?
When we did the housing update back in 2018, we reached out to all of the area villages to do that. Some of them we got really good responses on, so yes, it did include them. The Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan generally will focus on all the unincorporated areas, but we did have them also participate in the Lincoln County Comp Plan. A little bit, the villages that did want to. I think we got some information back from Hershey and from Sutherland. But yes, for the Lincoln County Comprehensive Plan and the Lincoln County Housing Update, we would be reaching out to the villages.
Good.
Speaker?
Judy, regarding particularly the best use or the projected best use of land, how is that determined? Does land ownership play into that factor? How is it determined that it's best used for this particular type of development?
There's a lot of things that consultants will look at when they're looking at what the best use of the land is. They, of course, look at what it currently is used as, what it is currently zoned for. They take a look at transportation corridors, especially your more high-traffic transportation corridors are generally more conducive to industrial or commercial development. And then they take a look at where we've been growing over the past several years. So, for example, if we've been growing in the northwest portion, what type of growth has been occurring there? Has it been residential? Has it been commercial? And what do we think is going to continue in that way? Vice versa, if we're growing in the southeast quarter of the community, what type of growth are we seeing happen? So they kind of look at the trends. They'll go back and look at all the rezonings that we've done in the last 5-10 years. which properties tend to start looking more industrial, which ones start looking. So there's a lot of factors that play into it. Infrastructure is a big one too. Where's your infrastructure? Where's the infrastructure that's going to be more conducive to industrial? Where's the infrastructure that's going to be more conducive to residential? So there's a lot of factors that play in when they do that. Plus, they also get the opinions of community members. Public participation is huge when you do plans like this, and so that's another thing that they look at also.
And the other question I had is, when they're looking at affordable housing, how does that factor into this whole thing?
The Affordable Housing Action Plan, then this is a new mandate. So that's going to be really interesting to see what they come up with. I think Grand Island is in the process right now of doing their Affordable Housing Action Plan. The larger communities have to have theirs completed by 2023. So that's kind of a new thing, so I'm really interested to see how those turn out, because I can't tell you how that Affordable Housing Action Plan is going to turn out and what their strategies are going to be as far as what we should do to start making, taking steps to make it. So it's a new thing, so I really don't have a good answer for you. The housing update, again, we'll look at things that we have been doing in order to create housing, some of the new zoning that we've been doing to try and get different types of housing, like town housing development going, things like that. Does that kind of answer?
Yeah,
Give you an idea?
I'm kind of curious, affordable housing, that's kind of I know there's probably a specific definition for that. I don't know what it is, but I'm just kind of curious, what direction are they trying to push us into when they say that we have to have an affordable housing action plan?
Yeah, and that was the last, through the last legislative session that one came through and was adopted, and I mean, we went through all of that. So affordable housing, I know the state has a definition. I think their definition is different than what my definition would be, but we've got to see what's affordable for our community members, in my opinion.
Thank you.
So I have one more question. So this sounds like it's a moving document.
Yes. Comprehensive plans should always be a moving document or a working document. They always should be, all of them, because they should change as your community changes. 50 years ago, people probably wouldn't have thought that we are where we are now. And 10 years from now or 20 years from now, we may be in a way different place. So they should always be a working document, something that you take, that you're willing to change, that you're willing to work with.
So are these people that do this, professionals, are they available for follow-up?
Yes, they're definitely available for follow-up. Generally, that's going to be in your contract, and most of the time, you end up forming a really good relationship with whomever that consultant is, and they're always there.
Thank you.
Yep.
Calling the question on item number 13. Item number 13 is passed. We have reached the last public hearing of the night. Item number 14, public hearing. Approve the Community Development Block Grant Program CDBG application for $425,000 to assist the City of North Platte with infrastructure improvements located on West 9th Street between Sherman Avenue and Buffalo Avenue, and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents. This is a public hearing, and it is now open. Guessing by the enthusiasm of the audience that we're not going to have a lot of participation in this one.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion Garrick, second Nisley, I think. No, it was definitely Mr. Nisley. I'm just not sure if he beat Mr. Reeker or not. So anyway,
I was quiet.
calling the question on closing the public hearing, please. Public hearing is closed. Council will now consider item number 14, approve the Community Development Block Grant Program, CDBG application for $425,000 to assist the City of North Platte with infrastructure improvements located on West 9th Street between Sherman Avenue and Buffalo Bill Avenue, and authorize mayor to sign all related documents.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the CDBG application for $425,000 to assist the City of North Platte with infrastructure improvements located on West 9th Street between North Sherman Avenue and Buffalo Bill, and authorize the mayor to sign all related documents.
Second.
Motion Nistley, second. Reeker, thank you. Must be my left ear, it doesn't work good. Okay. Any discussion on item number 14?
I just have a quick question,
Go ahead.
probably for Judy again.
Judy, getting your steps in today.
Back to similar to the last question. So if we would get this, are we committed at that point for the full 2.9, or are we just committed to our percentage of match at that point, or how much commitment? I know we're planning for the project, we have been, but what's our commitment level when we submit this application?
So when I generally submit grant applications, I just commit to the match amount, full well knowing that we are going to contribute more than that. These are a little bit more difficult because if we tell them we're doing this project and we only get a portion of this project completed, then we may have some issues with that.
Right.
So we need to, if we submit the project as it is, we do need to try and make sure that we can fulfill that project.
Do you think that the percentage, if we take 4 million or 400,000, 425,000 on 2.9 million, is that, I know as we've talked about this project for a long time, and there's always been hope that we could time this with a grant approval and try to shave that commitment cost down. Do you think this is a good, I mean, is this where you thought we could get to? Is it weaker than you thought we could get to on that based off what funding's available? Or how do you see that? I was always hoping we'd get more like $1 million towards it or something, but maybe that was a dream.
CDBG, our maximum allowable amount to request is $425,000. I'm with you. I would love to request more, but the maximum that they allow for any one project in this category is $425,000.
So we'd have to chop it up kind of like we've done on some of the others if you were trying to get
Yes.
more grant money towards it then, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, thank you.
Other questions or comments on item number 14?
I guess I'm just gonna make a comment real quick on it. You know, all these grants, I mean, that's nothing but tax money, and they have all this paperwork and all these regulations and all these mandates that you have to do. Oh, I wish we could be just self-sufficient here.
Any other questions or comments on item number 14?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr.
Judy,
Reeker?
regarding this specifically, and I think Councilmember Lucas addressed this a little bit. I'm going to take a little farther.
Ed, you got to get closer to the microphone.
Thank you, Brandon. If we were to chop it up into, say, two separate projects, I'm not sure that I want to do that. How hard do you think it would be to get another CDBG grant in the following year?
Extremely difficult for the same project. Again, like I said, in the planning category, the city of North Platte is kind of stuck in the middle. We're not considered an entitlement city, which really upsets me, and I always argue with the state about that all the time, but I lose. So we always have to compete with other communities, like, you know, villages, and so we're competing with villages. So they look at our ability to come up with funds versus the ability of some of these smaller villages to come up with funds. We applied for this, I believe, last year, it might have been 2 years ago, 2020, we applied for this same grant funding. We were denied. Part of that is because we're competing against these smaller cities and smaller villages that have a higher number of low to moderate income individuals, so they feel that there's less capacity for them to raise the funds on their own. So for us, I mean, we'll probably be lucky to get this one. I mean, I'm going to speak with you really frankly, we'll probably be lucky to get this one. I think that we have a really strong application. I do have some letters of support from the neighboring or people in the area, which is great. I didn't have that last time. And it is something that we've worked on several years trying to get this part of the town improved. So I just don't feel like chopping it up, if we did that and extended it over 2 years, that we're going to get granted the same dollar amount 2 years in a row. It's just too much competition.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sorry.
Is it too late to submit letters of encouragement?
I will probably not send this in till about August 15th or so. So no, if you want to write a letter, I will take it and send it in.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Lucas?
The pool of this money is state that we contribute to, correct?
Yes.
So this money, I mean, in terms of your comments about being self-sufficient, all that, the people in our town contribute money into this fund. Taxpayers do.
Yes.
And so we wouldn't be diligent at all as a community if we weren't trying to get back what's ours. So any negativity towards applying for these funds, I think, is nuts, because this is our taxpayers are putting the money into these funds, and then the state divvies these back out to get communities to do projects, right? So I wanted to make sure you knew the funding source, Donna, is that this is money we're all putting in the pot at the state level, and then you got to try to get some of it back out, right?
Yes, that is
Yeah.
correct. And they have a certain set-aside dollar amount that are allocated to each of these funds every year that they have funding. So if we don't apply for it, they will call some other community and say, hey, we've got these funds, we don't have any applications, do you want more? And that's what happened to us a couple of years ago with an owner-occupied rehab. We applied for, I believe, 10 homes. We ended up being able to rehab 12 because they called us and said, we didn't get enough applications, do you want to have more money with the grant that you have? So there's always that chance too, that we could have an opportunity to receive more, but if we don't ask for it, some other community will get it.
So then my question would be, what we're giving to them, is that what we're getting back? Are we getting at least that much back, or why can't we just keep it here? You know?
Well,
'Cause you know they're gonna shave off their expenses.
Yeah, I mean, we have to give it to them whether we get anything back or not, correct?
Yes.
Because
We
it's,
have to?
It's
Yeah,
tax
see,
money.
that's
State
government
law,
for you.
it's state law.
Yep.
So, and we can't change state law here in this particular meeting.
No.
Where we're at in the system, we're down here as a city, the state government runs the show, and they determine the taxes and everything else. And, you know, I think what Ty's trying to say, you can be critical of all this stuff, that's just the way it is. If we're gonna operate and save our taxpayers' money, we gotta take a look at these grants and get them. That's all I'm suggesting.
Well, if
Because the money's been paid already, we gotta get it back.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's necessary to be critical of this stuff. That's just the way it works.
I'm just saying, if it's mandated, well, yes, but I did not know it was mandated, so.
I just wanted to make sure you knew, Donna, that the funding source of this was actually our taxpayers' dollars that go into it.
Calling the question on item number 14. Item number 14 is passed. Item number 15, approve the claims.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the claims.
Motion Reeker, second Garrick. Calling the question on approving the claims. You got it. Okay, the claims are paid.
Could I just make a general comment?
Let me do the public agenda request. I'm just going to do this quickly since I don't think there's anyone sitting out there that wants to make a public agenda request. Is there? Do either of you two citizens out there want to make a public agenda request? You can if you want to.
Request that you all come to our ribbon cutting,
Oh,
since it was such a great partnership, but that's not an agenda request.
okay. Thank you.
Ribbon cutting.
Ribbon cutting. What date is the ribbon cutting?
August 13th, 8 PM, because you guys were such great partners with the downtown, so it's the official Canteen District ribbon cutting.
Okay, the official Canteen District ribbon cutting, August 8th.
August 3rd.
Excuse me, August 13th at 8 p.m.
Late night.
Yes, I know.
Music on the break.
Music on the break.
Music on the bricks. Mr. Nisley is going to very kindly read the proclamation as I will not be in North Platte at that time.
There you go.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other agenda request items? No? Okay, Mr. Reeker?
Mr. Mayor, I was going eastbound on Interstate 80 the other day, and I stopped at a rest area and chatted with with a gentleman behind the counter there, and I was asking, showing my ignorance actually, why there was no literature in the literature rack for North Platte, and he kind of set me straight and said, well, we try to have features that are gonna be able for eastbound people to take advantage of. Westbound people, North Platte will be in the westbound kiosk. Oh, well, that makes perfect sense. So he said, so you're from North Platte? And I said, yes. He said, I want you to tell you that the Cody Park is phenomenally good. He said, I'm from Kearney. He said, Kearney's parks do not hold a candle to to Cody Park. So I wish that Lyle would have been here to hear that, but kudos for you guys and the good job you're doing.
Thank you, Mr. Eaker.
You're welcome.
You usually make a motion at this point.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn by Reeker, second by several, mostly Mr. Vols, calling the question on adjournment. And we're done. Thank you, everyone. Try to stay cool in the really warm weather we have out there.
That'd have been funny.
Yeah, that would have been funny.
You wouldn't have let me know that one. No.